savannah, survival dictates a mother's choices. For a flightless giant, dense bushes aren't safe hiding spots. They are deadly ambush zones. That is why this mother ostrich nests directly in the open plains. Trusting her 360-degree vision, she turns her own body into a living shield, quietly watching over the lives about to be born. The African savanna is a realm of absolute exposure. Here, the endless sea of grass offers no true sanctuary. Survival in this vast open theater is governed by an immutable law. Every presence leaves a trace, and the wind will carry the secrets of the living to anyone who knows how to read them. Beneath a watchful presence, a new generation is quietly forming. Through thousands of tiny pores in their shells, the unhatched take their very first breaths. But this rhythm of life comes with a risk. Their delicate breaths carry the faint scent of amniotic fluid into the wind, unintentionally broadcasting a silent invitation across the plains. A solitary jackal intercepts this silent message. Relentlessly chased by larger predators and pushed to the barren fringes of the plains, it has endured days of starvation. Its highly evolved olfactory system reads the air with desperate precision. Decoding the chemical trail left by the chicks, the scavenger moves toward the nest. For a displaced and starving hunter, this scent is not just a meal, it is salvation. The stillness shatters. The mother rises, thrusting her massive wings wide open. She does not retreat. Fueled by a fierce maternal love, she transforms into a towering shield, ready to fight to the death to protect the fragile lives behind her. Driven by starvation, the jackal recklessly lunges. The mother instantly strikes back. A single powerful kick tears through the air, a razor-sharp defense carrying fatal force. Defeat on the savannah is never a loud surrender. It is a quiet, tragic realization. The starving outcast accepts its limits, turning away from the impenetrable mother. The hunger remains, but the instinct to survive another day overcomes the desperation to fight. After weeks of absolute stillness and quiet endurance, the rhythm of life finally begins to speak. The time has come. After 40 days in the dark, a new generation begins to emerge. An ostrich eggshell is extraordinarily thick, biologically engineered to withstand the mother's massive weight. For the chicks inside, breaking out is their very first exhausting battle for survival. Born fully awake and covered in soft down, these highly developed survivors immediately seek the familiar sanctuary beneath their mother's wings. The wind shifts, carrying the heavy scent of moisture. In the distance, the sky ominously darkens. A new threat is brewing, and her vulnerable chicks are now fully exposed. Haboob, a violent sandstorm driven by intense atmospheric pressure gradients, sweeps across the plains. In seconds, the savannah is swallowed by an abrasive darkness. The sandstorm violently sweeps across the plains. Hurricane-force winds turn billions of jagged silica crystals into a devastating weapon, transforming the air into a high-speed sandblaster. This abrasive wall carries enough kinetic energy to tear foliage to shreds and blind any creature caught in its path. Flight is impossible, and running is futile. The mother ostrich instantly drops to the ground, transforming herself into an aerodynamic shield. Spreading her massive wings, her specialized feathers interlock to act as a biological filter, preventing the suffocating dust from invading the fragile respiratory systems of her chicks. Nature's fury makes no distinction between prey and predator. Miles away, a pride of lions is forced to abandon their territory. Even the apex predators must bow to the elements. Seeking refuge behind weathered granite outcrops, they squint against the blinding grit, completely stripped of their dominance. Across the battered plains, a fragile truce is violently enforced by the wind. Only those who can weather the dust will earn the right to see the savannah clear again. The abrasive wall finally crumbles. As the dust settles, the savannah is left completely drained of energy. From beneath a battered shield of feathers, the chicks step out unharmed. The mother's exhausted resilience is the purest expression of survival. Her body absorbed the storm so theirs wouldn't have to. But in the wild, one creature's survival often demands another's sacrifice. Driven by a critical caloric deficit, a male lion separates from the pride. While females typically lead the hunt, severe hunger forces this heavy, muscular nomad to become a solitary assassin. His amber gaze locks onto a single wandering chick, drifting just inches beyond the mother's safety radius. Powered by massive fast-twitch muscle fibers, the apex predator accelerates to lethal velocity in mere seconds. The isolated chick is entirely defenseless. Overwhelmed by the sudden strike, it instinctively freezes a primitive survival response that offers no escape. The outcome of the hunt seems mathematically certain. But the male lion has fundamentally underestimated the mother's reaction time. Overriding her own survival instinct, the mother intercepts the trajectory. Operating on supreme bipedal biomechanics, she propels her massive frame at staggering speeds, violently throwing herself between the feline's jaws and her offspring. The avian unleashes a devastating countermeasure, concentrating hundreds of pounds of kinetic energy into a single downward strike. Her razor-sharp claw connects with brutal precision. Outweighed by the sheer ferocity of the mother, the predator's resolve breaks. The king of beasts is forced into a humiliating retreat. The dust of battle finally settles. As the surges of adrenaline gradually subside, the mother embraces her wandering chick. Her reckless bravery is a profound testament to the evolutionary power of parental investment. Triumphant and intact, the family regroups, continuing their relentless journey across the unforgiving wild.
At the absolute edge of the biosphere lies Greenland, a landmass entombed beneath 3 kilometers of primordial ice. Operating as Earth's largest thermal mirror, this blinding expanse repels solar radiation, collapsing surface temperatures to a lethal -50 degrees. On this unforgiving tundra, vegetation is a memory. Flesh is the only high-density fuel, and the hunt is the ultimate biological imperative. In the merciless Arctic, a mother walrus's body is the ultimate sanctuary. Draining her thermal reserves, she transfers life-saving heat to her calf, a true biological sacrifice. To ensure the walrus calf's survival, this sheltering embrace must briefly be broken. The mother leaves the glaring ice to cross into a completely different dimension. Plunging into the Arctic Ocean, she trades the freezing wind for the crushing weight of the abyss. Above, the motionless calf guards its core heat, awaiting the life-saving nourishment. Her mammalian diving reflex takes over. Extreme bradycardia sets in, slashing her heart rate to conserve oxygen locked deep within her myoglobin-rich muscles. Descending to the pitch-black benthic floor, she hunts entirely by touch. Her vibrissa sweep the mud for hidden prey. Every second underwater, weighed against the fragile life waiting above. At the dead end of her oxygen supply, maternal resilience overrides all biological limits. Across the frozen expanse, a mother's devotion is measured in pure sacrifice. Facing a severe energy deficit after months in the den, she silently breaks down her own tissue. She converts her remaining strength into a 30% lipid biofluid, the life-sustaining milk her cubs desperately need. But this miraculous transfer of life carries a heavy toll. She is actively losing over 1 kilogram of body weight every day. To save her cubs from the looming threat of starvation, she must make the hardest choice: to step away from their warmth. Leaving her cubs tucked safely in a state of energy-saving slumber, the mother activates her most vital survival tool. Driven by the urgent need to feed them, her extraordinary olfactory receptors lock onto a vulnerable target. A solitary walrus calf exposed on the open ice, over 30 kilometers away. Closing the distance, the bear becomes a phantom of the ice. Her massive paws, lined with micropapillae for maximum friction, absorb every structural shockwave. Stalking strictly against the wind, she weaponizes the elements to mask her fatal approach. Curling up strictly to save warmth, the calf is entirely defenseless. A brutal truth unfolds. One family's survival demands another's sacrifice. Just as the bear's fatal blow is about to land on the calf, the ocean erupts. The mother returns. Propelled by sheer maternal instinct and nearly a ton of muscular mass, she breaches the ice edge, throwing her massive frame between the predator and her calf. Predators calculate risk, not pride. A single wound means starvation for her own cubs. The polar bear is forced to retreat. One mother saves her calf, while another fades back into the unforgiving white void. Time is running out. Entering the seal's domain, she faces a ruthless physical law. Water drains body heat 25 times faster than air. She must turn her desperate hunger into an explosive burst of hydrodynamic speed. The ringed seal is infinitely more agile, but the bear relies on a flawless blind spot ambush, striking with a crushing jaw pressure of over 1200 CI. Death is instantaneous. The grueling pursuit is over. This massive intake of blubber reignites her thermodynamic engine. The sacrifice of one life guarantees the survival of 3. Gathering around the hard-won catch, mother and cubs feast together on the energy-dense blubber. While rapidly replenishing her lipid reserves, she gently shares the life-saving nourishment. A brutal hunt, culminating in the absolute warmth of maternal devotion. As the immediate hunger subsides, the greater thermodynamic cycle reclaims the landscape. This frozen ocean is not static. It is a dynamic, shifting biome, endlessly fractured and rebuilt by deep ocean currents and plummeting atmospheric pressure. Governed by the Earth's extreme axial tilt, the brief solar window begins to close. As the sun surrenders to the horizon, a severe thermal inversion takes hold, locking sub-zero temperatures directly against the ice. Darkness descends over the top of our world. But in this unforgiving frontier, life does not merely endure the night, it masters it. The beautiful, ruthless equation of the Arctic rolls on.
Dawn on the Savannah. Ambient temperature sits at 18 degrees Celsius. This is the optimal thermodynamic window for apex endurance hunters. The African wild dog, Lycaon pictus. Their oversized ears are not just acoustic radars, they are dense capillary networks functioning as thermoregulators, dissipating core heat during prolonged high-speed pursuits. Navigating the tall grass, the pack engages in active environmental processing. Their binocular vision and directional hearing overlap. Operating in this dispersed line, they create a synchronized sensory grid, detecting the slightest kinetic shift in the savanna. The yellow stalks provide effective camouflage for herbivores. In response, this wide frontal assault acts as a biological net, mechanically designed to flush concealed targets out of the brush. High-frequency twitters synchronize their positioning without alerting larger prey. The pack fundamentally alters its operational mode. High-speed pursuit parameters are deactivated. They lower their center of gravity, adopting a predatory crawl. They are now operating entirely in stealth. Their objective is elevated, a basalt outcrop, a natural geological stronghold that serves as a thermal sink during the night and a tactical fortress by day. Here, a troop of olive baboons, numbering over 40 individuals, has established their high ground sanctuary. The early morning light initiates a critical neurochemical protocol within the baboon troop, allogrooming. This behavior transcends physical hygiene. The tactile stimulation triggers the release of endorphins and oxytocin, simultaneously lowering cortisol levels while solidifying their complex hierarchical alliances. A troop of this density presents a formidable defensive matrix. The adult males act as perimeter sentinels. Biologically equipped with canines measuring up to 5 centimeters exceeding those of a leopard, they represent a lethal, high-risk variable for any approaching predator. Even after the allogrooming protocol, the troop remains anchored to the basalt outcrop. This elevated topography provides a dual biological advantage: maximum solar exposure to rapidly elevate their core body temperature after the cold savanna night, and an unobstructed 360-degree visual sweep of the surrounding biome. Within this high-ground sanctuary, internal hierarchy dictates spatial positioning. The dominant alpha males occupy the outermost perimeters. Functioning as an early warning radar system, their binocular vision scans the yellow grass for kinetic anomalies. Their physical presence deters terrestrial threats from attempting a vertical assault. In the protected center, juveniles engage in high-energy mock combat. This is not merely play, it is a critical neurological simulation. They are developing the fast-twitch muscle fibers and spatial awareness required to survive future predator encounters. All while constant low-frequency vocalizations maintain an acoustic tether between the 40 individuals. For the baboons, every day is a biological war, caught between caloric starvation and the savanna's hidden threats. Every decision is a calculated risk. Here, one miscalculation means death. Below the outcrop, the wild dogs remain locked in their stealth formation. A direct upward charge against an alert baboon troop is biologically unviable. The canines are engaged in a game of thermodynamic patience, waiting for a single juvenile or subadult to miscalculate their spatial boundaries and step too close to the precipice. An underdeveloped threat perception overrides survival instincts. Driven by a caloric deficit, a naive juvenile steps outside the troop's safety zone, a fatal geometric error. The sensory trigger is pulled. The wild dogs instantly transition from stealth to maximum kinetic output, deploying a synchronized intercept trajectory. Through a suffocating high-speed encirclement, the juvenile is forced into a dead end fractions of a second before the alpha males can unleash a counter-strike. In a desperate biomechanical reflex, the juvenile exploits the canine's anatomical limitation, a lack of arboreal adaptation. It ascends a solitary acacia, a temporary vertical refuge. From the high branches, the juvenile emits a high decibel distress frequency. This is not merely a cry of fear. It is a highly evolved acoustic beacon designed to pierce the savanna's ambient noise. It carries a specific biometric signature, triggering a hardwired neurochemical alarm within the troop. The acoustic signal triggers an instant adrenaline cascade. Abandoning all foraging protocols, the alpha males mobilize into an offensive phalanx. Driven to protect their genetic investment, a multi-ton wave of primate muscle and lethal canines surges toward the tree. The siege is shattered by sheer, overwhelming kinetic force. The collision is instantaneous. Driven by kin selection, the alpha males unleash a blunt force trauma assault. Wielding 5-centimeter canines, this multi-ton wave of primate muscle shatters the dog's siege protocol. It is an asymmetrical territorial defense, neutralizing the threat in seconds and safely retrieving the juvenile. Outweighed and outweaponized, the canine neurocircuitry abruptly switches from predatory aggression to absolute panic. In the ruthless economics of the savanna, a primate bite means septicemia and certain death. The pack dissolves into an uncoordinated retreat. But surviving the counterattack is only their first hurdle. As the adrenaline crash hits, a terrifying physiological reality sets in. They have expended a massive amount of metabolic energy for a zero-caloric return. Scattering into the dry grass, the pack's highly organized neural network devolves into a chaotic flight response. Hyperventilating and visibly panicked, the wild dogs are consumed by a profound behavioral trauma. The immediate terror of the primate's blunt force counterstrike quickly morphs into an existential dread. Their biological clock is now ticking exponentially faster. Prolonged starvation will inevitably compromise their immune systems and shatter their coordinated hunting matrix. This single disastrous ambush has pushed the terrified canines to the absolute brink of caloric bankruptcy. While the baboons stabilize their acoustic tether, the desperate dogs must keep moving, haunted by the savanna's ultimate apex equation: hunt successfully or perish. This is not a tactical withdrawal. It is a blind, adrenaline-fueled rout. Tails tucked and ears pinned flat, classic morphological markers of acute subordination. They scramble erratically over the abrasive terrain. The pack's collective mind has been hijacked by the reptilian brain, driven purely by a singular imperative: put maximum distance between themselves and the primate fury. Deep within the troop's concentric core, a maternal reunion occurs. The mother retrieves her juvenile. This intense tactile interaction allogrooming triggers a massive release of oxytocin, effectively degrading the residual cortisol from the morning's trauma. The troop's fractured social matrix is chemically and physically seamlessly repaired. As the solar angle diminishes, the Savannah undergoes a rapid thermodynamic shift. The diurnal cycle draws to a close. For the Papio Anubis troop, this diminishing light signals an immediate behavioral transition, abandoning all foraging protocols to retreat into an elevated nocturnal fortress. Morning in the rainforest, a cathedral of emerald light. As the golden hour breaks, solar radiation gently filters through a three-dimensional matrix of broadleaf canopy. The air is dry and crisp, awakening a billion stomata to breathe in the dawn. Anchored to the heart of an ancient giant, a tree slowly surrendering its legacy back to the earth, hangs a masterpiece of biological architecture, an exposed wild honeybee colony. To protect their wax citadel from the mounting thermal heat, workers beat their wings 230 times per second, orchestrating a cooling microstorm. At the slightest tremor, sentinels arm their stingers, ready to release isoamyl acetate, a highly volatile alarm pheromone. The wild is always armed. A black bear, consumed by a gnawing hunger, the apex olfactory navigator of this forest. The morning breeze carries a potent chemical signature straight to its receptors. Lipids, proteins, and concentrated sucrose. A high-calorie beacon is locked. With a nasal cavity packed with millions of scent receptors, its sense of smell is 7 times greater than a bloodhound's. It doesn't just smell the honey. It is actively rendering a 3D topographic map to the exact coordinates of the hive. The bear's jaw delivers a crushing force of over 800 pounds per square inches, tearing through the decaying branch, anchoring the hive. The bear is actively hunting the nutrient-dense bee larvae deep inside the suspended comb, a critical, high-yield protein reserve. As the suspended fortress is violently breached, the colony's alarm system triggers into overdrive. A brutal collision between raw mammalian power and insectoid chemical warfare has officially begun. That radiant chemical scent has awakened a second phantom from the jungle's deepest shadows, carrying a primal, gnawing hunger, and propelled by a ruthless caloric deficit. A master of survival steps into the light, Mellivora capensis, the honey badger. Weighing barely 14 kilograms, it faces a competitor 10 times its mass. Yet, fear is a biological mechanism largely absent from its neural circuitry. Driven by an aggressive metabolic demand for the high-octane honey, the badger initiates an acoustic assault. Its characteristic shrill hiss is a calculated psychological weapon designed to disrupt the bear's focus. High in the canopy, the bear achieves a delicate biomechanical balance. Anchoring its massive frame with curved claws that act as climbing crampons, it manipulates the hive with surprising dexterity. Using its prehensile lips and a highly agile tongue, it systematically extracts the nutrient-dense pupae from the hexagonal wax matrix. This is a crucial caloric windfall, flooding its system with essential lipids and amino acids. Pacing at the base of the tree, the badger is calculating its moment for kleptoparasitism, the ecological strategy of stealing a larger predator's prize. It can afford this extreme audacity thanks to a unique evolutionary defense, an exceptionally thick, rubbery epidermis, completely detached from its underlying muscle. The inevitable confrontation ignites, a clash of biomechanical extremes, the massive bulk of the apex bear against the unyielding ferocity of the honey badger. Without hesitation, the badger launches a direct physical challenge for the caloric prize, proving that in this ecosystem, evolutionary audacity can completely neutralize raw physical dominance. The anchor point snaps. Without structural support, gravity pulls the massive wax citadel down. It plummets to the forest floor, shattering upon impact, and instantly exposed. Over 50,000 bees erupt into a dark insectoid storm. The air is instantly saturated with alarm pheromones, subjecting the combatants to a deafening acoustic and chemical assault. In the face of this overwhelming swarm intelligence, mammalian aggression falters. The sensory overload is absolute, and the biological cost of endurance now far outweighs the caloric reward. Forced to abort the duel, both predators launch into an immediate, chaotic retreat. The apex predator relies on a primal evasion tactic. Plunging into a slow-moving aquatic microhabitat, the black bear uses the water for more than just thermal relief. It is actively neutralizing the chemical markers, washing away the highly volatile alarm pheromones that guide the stings of the swarm. Despite its massive bulk, the black bear is wired with a highly sensitive flight response. When overwhelmed by a collective enemy it cannot physically fight, instinct overrides aggression, dictating immediate spatial distancing. The giant chooses self-preservation. In stark contrast, the honey badger moves with calculated ease through the chaos. Navigating the fallen timber, it seizes the perfect distraction. It snatches up a shattered piece of the honeycomb, a nutrient-dense prize won with barely any effort. The adrenaline of the retreat quickly dissolves into a much deadlier sensation: starvation. In this unforgiving wilderness, every calorie lost is a step closer to death. Standing in the icy current, the bear is driven not by instinct alone, but by a gnawing, desperate void in its gut. The river is merciless, siphoning away its remaining body heat and accelerating the metabolic drain. The bear must strike a lethal balance, freeze like a statue of muscle to avoid detection, while its internal furnace burns through its last fat reserves. Nature offers no sympathy for the hungry. It demands absolute, flawless precision. Driven to the brink, the bear unleashes a violent explosion of kinetic energy. It's a strike fueled purely by desperation. 5-centimeter claws rip through the water, acting as biological harpoons. It pins a massive, unsuspecting target to the riverbed, a life-or-death gamble that finally pays off. Water erupts as the fish thrashes violently, fighting its own grim battle for survival. But the bear's jaws, powered by raw starvation, lock shut with an unbreakable force. Dragging the heavy prize through the current's resistance, it wades toward the sandy bank. One life is brutally extinguished, so another can endure. The aquatic struggle is brief. The bear's jaws lock with anatomical precision, firmly securing the heavy catch. Clamping the fish tightly, the massive predator wades against the resisting current. With deliberate, heavy strides, it steps up onto the solid riverbank, river water cascading from its dense, dark coat as it leaves the hunting ground behind. Here, on the safety of the bank, the undeniable rule of the food web is laid bare. The bear focuses on its hard-won meal, a moment of pure survival, prioritizing the vital intake of premium biological fuel. Rich fats and proteins are instantly converted into the energy needed to endure the wilderness. In this ecosystem, hunger is the ultimate driving force, shaping a relentless cycle of adaptation just to see another dawn. In the wild, memory is an expensive metabolic commodity. There are no grudges held here, no vendettas pursued. The chaotic clashes of the day are quickly erased from neurological priorities, making way for the immediate and absolute demands of survival. Every inhabitant of this ecosystem operates on strict biological pragmatism. Yesterday's rival is irrelevant. Tomorrow's caloric deficit is the only absolute truth. In this constant struggle, survival demands that every violent encounter be left behind, as life seamlessly reverts to its relentless, solitary rhythm. For the bear and the badger, it is simply another rotation of the earth, a relentless, beautiful loop of raw survival, continuing under the fading light of the natural world.
Along the Alaska-Canada border, the winter taiga is not just a frozen wasteland. It is a crystalline acoustic battlefield. At -40 degrees, extreme air density completely alters the physics of sound. The frozen snowpack functions as a massive sensory web. Every footfall generates seismic microvibrations that carry for miles. To hunt in this labyrinth, predators must master the science of structural dampening. But this absolute stealth carries an exorbitant metabolic cost. For the mother lynx, delivering a kitten into a subarctic winter is a biological paradox. The newborn lynx emerges encased in amniotic fluid, facing instant, lethal hypothermia in the frigid air. Securing her kitten in the thermal safety of the den, the mother lynx steps back into the frozen void to hunt for crucial calories.
Navigating the frozen taiga, the mother lynx shifts into active predation. Her stalk is a masterclass in biomechanical fluid dynamics. She is in constant motion, yet completely tethered to the silence of the forest. Despite her mass, she moves like a phantom. Her oversized, densely furred paws function as biological snowshoes, maximizing surface area to minimize ground pressure, preventing the fragile snow crust from fracturing beneath her weight. Safely tucked away in the den, her kitten waits. It relies strictly on the combustion of brown adipose tissue, a localized biological furnace that staves off lethal hypothermia without the need for shivering. High above the frozen canopy, an apex aerial assassin owns the night. The great horned owl utilizes serrated feather edges to slice through aerodynamic turbulence, effectively erasing all acoustic frequencies of its flight. It doesn't rely on vision alone. Asymmetrical ear cavities triangulate the faintest micro-vibrations on the forest floor, locking onto a target's exact coordinates with mathematical precision before the prey even registers a threat.
While the mother lynx is miles away, a fatal biological misstep occurs. The kitten breaches the den's insulating barrier. The target is locked. Folding its wings to enter a free-fall dive, the owl strikes like a phantom. 4 needle-sharp talons pierce with crushing force, snatching the kitten from the snow and effortlessly carrying it into the frozen sky, leaving behind a deadly silence. The owl's flight path intersects with the diurnal apex predator, the golden eagle. In this frozen wasteland, calories are so scarce that the eagle engages in kleptoparasitism, the deliberate theft of another hunter's kill. Spotting the target with ultra-high-resolution vision, the eagle folds its wings into a ballistic dive. The kitten survives completely unharmed. Meanwhile, the aerial dogfight reaches its inevitable conclusion. Superior in sheer mass and kinetic power, the golden eagle completely overpowers the owl, claiming absolute dominance over the frozen sky. Guided by faint olfactory cues, the mother lynx finally tracks down her kitten. The reunion triggers a powerful surge of oxytocin. Stress hormones vanish as they restore their thermal bond, proving that in the brutal taiga, a mother's warmth is the ultimate sanctuary. Beyond the taiga, glacial peaks reflect solar radiation back into the atmosphere, locking the ecosystem in a permanent thermodynamic freeze. Yet, life here doesn't just endure the frost, it synchronizes with it. In this frozen world, survival is the ultimate triumph of biological engineering, achieving perfect equilibrium with the absolute cold.
As the Earth shifts its axis, the Serengeti sheds the heavy cloak of night. Dawn here is not merely a sunrise. It is a biological trigger. The sudden spike in thermal radiation resets the survival clock of millions. For the grazers, the first light offers a fleeting illusion of safety, but in this 3-million-year-old theater, visibility is a double-edged sword. Driven by an ancient biological imperative, an expectant female severs her ties with the safety of the mass. The first contractions have begun. Every ancient instinct now focuses on the imminent birth, preparing her body for the most vulnerable moment on the savannah. Yet, giving birth alone is the savannah's ultimate gamble. The rush of amniotic fluid releases a potent chemical beacon, drifting miles downwind. The delivery is complete, but the physical transition is still underway. The newborn foal remains partially encased in the amniotic sac. This translucent membrane, which provided vital protection inside the womb, must now be shed. The mother acts instinctively to assist her offspring. She focuses directly on the tissue surrounding the foal's head. By licking and gently nipping at the membrane, she uncovers the face, ensuring the foal can comfortably take its first full breaths of air. The foal's instinctive drive to stand serves a vital biomechanical function here. As it extends its long legs and pushes upward, gravity and the weight of the fluid-soaked tissue work together with the foal's movement. This combined mechanical tension stretches and breaks the membrane, systematically peeling it completely away from the coat and freeing the hind legs for mobility. The first touch is gentle, yet driven by absolute urgency. By meticulously cleaning her foal, the mother isn't just showing affection, she is actively erasing the scent of birth, a vital countermeasure against predators that map this landscape by smell. Within minutes of taking its first breath, the foal faces its greatest test. It must conquer gravity. Its legs are disproportionately long, nearly adult-sized. This is not an accident of nature. It's an evolutionary masterpiece, engineered for immediate flight. As they nuzzle, an invisible, lifelong bond is forged. She deliberately stands between her foal and the rest of the world. In these quiet seconds, the newborn's brain takes a mental photograph, memorizing the unique barcode of its mother's stripes. The foal's initial steps are unsteady, but it adapts with remarkable speed. Zebras are a precocial species, born with a highly developed nervous system. Continuous walking forces blood into the foal's long legs, rapidly reinforcing the muscle coordination required to run. The mother dictates the pace, continuously assessing her foal's stamina. She is deliberately navigating her offspring out of the dense brush, taking the first calculated steps toward reuniting with the protective numbers of the herd. The shift in the wind carries the scent of the newborn foal across the savannah. A pride of lionesses intercepts this chemical signal. Their olfactory system is highly specialized, allowing them to determine the exact direction and approximate distance of their potential prey without visual confirmation. To close the distance undetected, the lionesses rely on physical adaptation. Their tawny coats blend seamlessly with the dry grass. They move in a coordinated formation, spreading out to flank the mother and her single foal. Soft, thick pads on the bottom of their paws absorb the impact of their weight, enabling them to navigate the dry terrain in near silence. The pride's strategy is dictated by their biology. Lions possess limited stamina for long pursuits, requiring them to minimize the distance before initiating a sprint. They collectively target the young foal, analyzing its unsteady movements and lack of top speed, identifying it as the highest probability target. The mother zebra continues to monitor her surroundings, but the lead lioness initiates the strike. Utilizing the massive fast-twitch muscle fibers in her hindquarters, she accelerates from a standstill to 60 kilometers per hour in just 3 seconds. The zebra's sensitive ears catch the sound instantly. Panic ripples through the herd like a shockwave, and they immediately scatter in terror. But this frontal assault is a calculated trap. By triggering the stampede, the lioness is purposely herding the panicked zebras straight toward the rest of the pride waiting in ambush. In this blinding dust and chaos, the young foal has only one lifeline. It must perfectly copy its mother's every move, or be left behind. At top speed, the fleeing herd deploys its greatest natural defense, a visual illusion. As dozens of zebras sprint and weave together, their black and white stripes merge into a dizzying blur. This phenomenon, known as motion dazzle, makes it incredibly difficult for a chasing lion to judge speed, distance, or single out one individual. The choking dust of the dry savanna only deepens the predator's confusion. The pursuit forces the herd to the edge of a fast-flowing river. They are trapped between the approaching lions and the turbulent water. Driven by the immediate threat on land, the zebras make a calculated behavioral choice: plunging into the treacherous current presents a statistically higher chance of survival. Entering the water instantly neutralizes their speed advantage. The dense current rapidly drains their stamina. Their hooves, evolved for traction on hard savanna soil, struggle to find stability on the slippery riverbed. The mass movement creates a bottleneck, pushing the animals deeper into the channel. This massive aquatic disturbance alerts a completely different apex predator. Nile crocodiles utilize specialized sensory receptors along their jaws to detect low-frequency vibrations in the water. They can pinpoint the exact location of the struggling zebras, moving in to intercept. Driven by sheer panic, they do not pause to defend themselves. They thrash violently, using their powerful muscles simply to break the water's resistance, their visual focus locked entirely on reaching the opposite bank. This reckless crossing is a brutal evolutionary calculation. By moving as a dense, chaotic mass at maximum physical exertion, they overwhelm the predator's ability to target effectively. Individual safety is temporarily sacrificed for the forward momentum of the group. Through pure physical endurance, the vast majority scramble up the bank, successfully escaping the aquatic threat. Safe on the opposite bank, the herd's collective heart rate begins to decelerate. The massive spike of adrenaline and cortisol required for the high-speed escape slowly dissipates from their bloodstreams. The river has acted as a ruthless evolutionary filter. Those remaining on this bank have successfully passed a rigorous test of physical endurance and spatial awareness. In the savanna ecosystem, peace is merely a temporary biological reset. Their sensory radars remain active, processing the wind for the next inevitable threat. The Masai Mara, an ancient sea of grass, bound by the unforgiving extremes of the dry season. Surface water evaporates, and usable plant biomass drops rapidly. Every organism here operates near its physiological limit. Survival under this equatorial sun demands strict thermoregulation. Energy is hoarded, movement is calculated. The waiting game begins. Scattered across this baked topography, vast assemblies of herbivores maintain a fragile stasis. They serve as the ecosystem's primary processors, extracting fractional nutrients from sun-bleached cellulose. Processing this abrasive diet requires highly specialized digestive fermentation. Every movement is economized to maximize nutrient extraction while minimizing moisture loss under the relentless sun. Exposed on the open grass, the African rock python relies on disruptive camouflage. As a heavy-bodied ambush predator, it conserves energy by not chasing. Specialized pit organs along its jaw detect the infrared radiation of warm-blooded herbivores, mapping the environment through heat signatures. Nearby, the savanna's apex predators adopt a different strategy. The lion pride enters a state of physiological dormancy, resting up to 20 hours a day to prevent hyperthermia. Mammalian cooling systems deplete internal moisture reserves. The pride must replenish fluids, converging on the ecosystem's remaining surface water. The aquatic environment provides thermal stability and camouflage for ectotherms. The African rock python uses water to mask its scent, leaving only its infrared sensing pits exposed. Utilizing fluid dynamics, the python advances without surface disturbance. Engrossed in hydration, the lioness experiences complete sensory masking. The ectotherm enters critical strike range, entirely undetected. The heat-sensing pits lock onto the lioness's thermal signature. Evaluating the target's biological mass, the python coils its musculature, priming for an explosive kinetic strike. The strike is instantaneous. Propelled by massive axial muscles, The python breaks the surface, utilizing rapid kinetic momentum to immediately envelop the feline's torso within heavy, prehensile coils. With every exhalation the lioness makes, the muscular coils tighten. Thoracic compression restricts lung expansion, rapidly depleting cellular oxygen and flooding her muscles with paralyzing lactic acid. Immobilized, the lioness triggers a final survival mechanism: acoustic distress signals. Low-frequency calls are broadcasted to summon the pride. The python maintains its lethal grip. Sensory scales track the lioness's fading heartbeat, pinpointing the exact moment of physiological collapse. The distress call instantly ignites the pride. Over a ton of combined apex muscle surges forward in a massive synchronized charge, shaking the ground as they rush to the riverbank. Reaching the riverbank, the lion pride launches a coordinated defense. The lions target the python's spine with extreme bite force, physically breaking its heavy muscular contraction. Facing the entire lion pride, the python risks a fatal severed spine. The biological cost becomes too high. Survival instinct overrides the hunt, forcing the snake to release its grip and retreat. The lethal grip is broken. As oxygen rushes back into the lioness's depleted muscles, she survives thanks to the Savannah's ultimate evolutionary weapon, the unified power of the lion pride. As the golden hour bathes the Savannah, order returns to the pride. In the soft twilight, they engage in gentle social grooming. This tactile exchange is more than affection. It releases calming endorphins, weaving the chemical bonds that make the pride an unbreakable unit. The punishing heat dissipates, replaced by cool evening thermals. Sprawled across the earth, the apex predators embrace the stillness, their bodies seamlessly blending into the fading colors of the landscape. A fleeting moment of savanna poetry, yet their sensory network remains sharp. As dusk falls, the pride rests, conserving energy for the night. The African savanna, at the height of the dry season. It is not a barren wasteland, but a masterclass in ecological patience. Out here, energy is the ultimate currency. To endure the solar radiation, the grass eaters enter a waking meditation, actively down-regulating their metabolism. Lowering their metabolic rate, the hunted shift posture to deflect heat while their senses map the wind, a silent biological triumph. Lionesses initiate a calculated metabolic shutdown to regenerate fast-twitch muscle fibers, preserving maximum kinetic potential for the upcoming fierce hunts. This process demands 20 hours of deep rest to fuel their explosive anaerobic sprints. In the open plains, the female ostrich establishes a secure perimeter. She excavates the sun-baked surface to expose the cooler soil beneath. This is a strategically engineered microclimate, designed to buffer her nest against the savanna's extreme thermal shock. Anchored within this depression, she lays her eggs. Her massive body now serves as a biological heat shield, strictly regulating the temperature parameters required for embryo survival. Each egg is an evolutionary marvel. The dense calcium carbonate shell is structured with microscopic pores, facilitating embryonic respiration while sealing against the arid atmospheric pressure. Shattering the calcium shell, the chicks emerge precocial, biologically equipped to walk the savanna within minutes. The ostrich chicks face their first physical challenge, learning to walk. Every clumsy stumble builds vital muscle memory, conditioning their legs for the constant locomotion required to survive the savannah. Parallel to this, an apex weapon reactivates. Once basic equilibrium is established, the chicks shift their focus to sensory processing. Their expanding visual field begins mapping the terrain, analyzing spatial dimensions and ground textures. Once basic equilibrium is established, the chicks shift their focus to sensory processing. Their expanding visual field begins mapping the terrain, analyzing spatial dimensions and ground textures. The mother functions as a mobile biological shield. Through low-frequency acoustic signals, she constantly calibrates her offspring's spatial awareness against surrounding threats. Transitioning to ambush mode, the lioness employs pure acoustic stealth. Shock-absorbing paw pads mute her approach, while her pigmentation perfectly dissolves into the optical spectrum of the dry grass. Stalking relies on geometric precision. The lioness systematically exploits topographical blind spots to close the distance without triggering the prey's visual radar. The physiological equation reaches critical mass. The lioness must breach the 30-meter strike radius before the mother's threat detection network registers the anomaly. The stealth perimeter collapses. The lioness detonates her fast-twitch muscle reserves, unleashing an explosive burst of anaerobic power to reach maximum velocity in mere seconds. The chick's newly mapped neural pathways instantly switch to survival mode. It executes erratic, sharp-angle evasions, forcing the much heavier predator to constantly recalculate her intercept trajectory and bleed vital momentum. This chase is a lethal biological countdown. Built for explosive sprints, the lioness rapidly overheats. She must strike within seconds, or thermal exhaustion will completely shut down her muscles. Triggered by acute acoustic distress signals, the mother intercepts. Reaching bipedal speeds of 70 kilometers per hour, she weaponizes her massive kinetic energy, instantly severing the predator's strike trajectory. The ostrich flock surges forward at high velocity, weaponizing their collective kinetic energy to violently swarm the outmatched lioness. The predator-prey dynamic violently inverts. An adult ostrich delivers a forward kick with devastating biomechanical efficiency, packing enough blunt force trauma and shearing power from its claws to permanently cripple a large feline. The predatory threat neutralized. The flock's elevated adrenaline levels rapidly baseline. The mother immediately reconnects with her chicks, employing tactile stimulation to assess their physical integrity and stabilize their physiological stress. As the solar gradient drops, the savannah transitions into its nocturnal thermal regime. The chicks have successfully executed their primary biological directive for the day, surviving the apex crucible of the open plains. Sikhote Alin, the Russian Far East. Here, the northern taiga collides with subarctic frost. Temperatures plummet to -40 degrees Celsius. Winter in this mountain range is not merely a season, it is a metabolic crucible. To survive, every organism must ruthlessly optimize its thermal economy. The snow layer is both an executioner and an insulating shield. Sikhote Alin, a deep freeze where survival dictates a radical biological response. The reindeer engineered to withstand the thermal drain. Their coat is composed of hollow hair shafts, trapping air to create an absolute vacuum of insulation. The muskox adheres strictly to Bergmann's rule, a massive body with a low surface area to volume ratio to minimize heat loss. The white wolf, the apex tactical predator of the tundra, operating as a singular superorganism. Weighing a ton, the bison uses hypertrophied cervical vertebrae to bulldoze through the snowpack. To conquer the thermodynamic nightmare of Sikhote Alin, motion itself must be redefined. Navigating this frozen void, the reindeer herd relies entirely on flawless biomechanical engineering. Upon impact, their crescent hooves splay outward, instantly functioning as biological snowshoes. Beneath the skin, a network of elastic tendons acts as kinetic springs, absorbing and firing energy with every stride. It is a masterclass in locomotive efficiency, propelling them across the deep powder with near-zero caloric leakage. The atmospheric pressure plummets. A katabatic storm sweeps across the taiga, driving the wind chill down to a lethal -50 degrees. Visibility drops to absolute zero. The thermodynamic tax on every living organism instantly doubles. In Sikhote Alin, life is not a right. It is a strictly audited equation of caloric reserves, metabolic output, and the merciless laws of thermal equilibrium. When the metabolic fires finally extinguish, biology unconditionally surrenders to physics. The fallen become nothing more than frozen carbon structures, their residual energy slowly reabsorbed by the indifferent mountain. Into the teeth of the blizzard, the Wapiti herd presses forward. To combat the lethal wind resistance, they adopt a strict aerodynamic drafting formation. Yet, amidst the blinding whiteout, the remaining fauna anchor themselves against the vortex, pushing their metabolic engines to the absolute brink in a defiant standoff against the ice. A subtle shift in the air currents introduces a heavy, carnivorous vector. The prey do not need to see the predator. Their olfactory receptors have already confirmed the arrival of an inescapable apex threat. The localized ecosystem has detected a massive, 300-pound anomaly moving flawlessly through the powder. The katabatic winds show no mercy, but the Amur tiger remains anchored. At rest, her massive muscular furnace operates in idle mode. She is burning through critical lipid reserves for one purpose only: to maintain a core basal temperature of 38 degrees Celsius against the -50-degree onslaught. But this thermal shielding comes at a catastrophic metabolic cost. A tiger of this magnitude requires a massive caloric intake just to sustain its engine. Inaction is not a strategy. It is a countdown to starvation. The blizzard hasn't trapped her, it has forced her hand. Preparing for a zero-visibility kinetic strike requires complex sensory recalibration. The tiger's vibrissae, the highly sensitive facial whiskers, act as a tactile radar, detecting microscopic shifts in air pressure. She is actively filtering the chaotic frequency of the storm, isolating the faint, low-frequency acoustic signatures of struggling prey. Through the localized whiteout, a secondary predator navigates the thermodynamic wasteland, the Eurasian wolf. It moves at a deliberate, low-output trot to minimize caloric burn. Its paws, functioning as thermal insulators, barely compress the powder. The wolf is operating on a severe energetic deficit. Every step without a kill pushes it closer to metabolic failure. That is, until a sudden shift in the biting crosswind delivers a faint, isolated chemical signature to its olfactory receptors. The warm, metallic scent of freshly spilled blood. Suddenly, its forward momentum ceases. The olfactory bulb, packed with millions of receptors, has intercepted a microscopic vector, a thermal signature hidden within the drift. The Arctic hare. As the wolf slowly positions its mass for a downward kinetic strike, it falls into neurobiological tunnel vision. The predator's auditory cortex locks exclusively onto the faint, rhythmic respiration of the hare. But this absolute fixation creates a fatal blind spot. In its meticulous effort to shift its weight, the wolf fractures a hidden layer of subterranean ice. A sharp, macroscopic acoustic snap shatters the silence. The wolf, consumed entirely by its subterranean ambush, is completely oblivious to the shifting hierarchy. It does not realize that its status has just been violently downgraded, from apex hunter to target. Relying entirely on cryptic coloration, the hare's pelage blends seamlessly into the snowpack. The wolf lowers its center of gravity, shifting into a stealth approach. Beneath the relentless, driving snowfall, the stage is set for a brutal and inevitable confrontation over those critical, life-sustaining calories. Relying entirely on cryptic coloration, the hare's pelage blends seamlessly into the snowpack. The wolf lowers its center of gravity, shifting into a stealth approach. Stealth is abandoned. Driven by a critical caloric deficit, the wolf shifts to brute mechanical excavation. Its forelimbs act as biological shovels, displacing compacted snow at a frantic rate. This anaerobic exertion demands a massive surge of oxygen, elevating its heart rate to maximum capacity. In its desperate bid to unearth the prey, the predator becomes completely blinded to anything outside its immediate kinetic objective. From the periphery, the Amur tiger silently processes the chaos. The tiger is the absolute embodiment of thermal and kinetic efficiency. While the wolf rapidly depletes its finite energy reserves, the tiger remains anchored. The tiger's binocular vision calculates the exact interception geometry. The tiger is no longer tracking a microscopic scent. The tiger is actively locking onto an exhausted, high-value target that has effectively trapped itself. The taiga snowpack becomes an arena of intense biomechanical contrast. Driven to the brink of metabolic failure, the Eurasian wolf abandons all caution. The wolf utilizes its forelimbs as biological excavators, violently burning through its final anaerobic reserves to breach the subnivium layer. This singular kinetic obsession causes a complete cognitive collapse, blinding the wolf to its macro environment. The structural integrity of the subniveum refuge finally fails. The Arctic hare is forcefully ejected to the surface. The breach immediately triggers a fight-or-flight endocrine response, flooding its cardiovascular system with adrenaline. Its hind legs, densely packed with fast-twitch muscle fibers, execute an explosive kinetic launch accelerating to 60 kilometers per hour in seconds. The localized ecosystem violently erupts into a multi-tiered thermodynamic chase. As the wolf tears into its fresh kill, its body redirects all energy inward. Blood rushes away from its senses to fuel digestion, locking the predator into a temporary state of oblivion. Blinded by the meal and deafened by the crunch of bone, the wolf has no idea its victory has just created its greatest vulnerability. But the taiga grants no reprieves. The Amur tiger closes the distance. Moving 300 kilograms of raw power in absolute silence is a masterpiece of evolution. With perfect precision, the tiger places its hind paws exactly into the tracks of its front paws, erasing its own acoustic footprint. The stealth phase abruptly ends. The Amur tiger erupts from the snow, unleashing a terrifying kinetic assault. Accelerating to over 50 kilometers per hour in mere seconds, 300 kilograms of muscle and bone become a living missile. The wolf, completely caught off guard by its own meal, has zero time to react. This is not a chase, it is an execution of raw physics. The impact is devastating, but the Eurasian wolf is a resilient survivor, instinctively fighting back with desperate ferocity. However, the biomechanical mismatch is absolute. The tiger's massive forelimbs, armed with retractable claws, grapple and lock the prey, neutralizing the wolf's mobility. Every thrash of the wolf is met with an overwhelming counterforce. In the brutal mathematics of the taiga, willpower cannot overcome a 3-to-1 weight advantage. The climax of the struggle arrives. The tiger's jaws, capable of generating over 1,000 pounds of bite force, finally lock onto their target. A precision strike to the cervical vertebrae severs the spinal cord, inducing immediate paralysis. The desperate struggle ceases. As the snow dust settles, the Amur tiger reclaims its ultimate prize, not just a meal, but its undisputed title as the apex lord of the mountain. Ravens, the ultimate opportunists of the taiga, sound their requiem. Their echoing cries are not mourning the dead. They are an acoustic broadcast, signaling a newly available caloric surplus to the rest of the flock. As solar radiation fades, the lethal temperatures of Sikota Alin plummet once more. But tonight, the monarch of the snow breathes easily. In this brutal equation of energy and ice, equilibrium has been violently restored. For months, this fractured Earth has endured a state of suspended animation. This is not merely a change in weather, but as barometric pressure plummets, a volatile chemical signal rides the incoming winds. It is a violent continent-wide biological awakening. Down below, the larger herbivores anchor themselves against the blinding dust squalls. They do not flee. High in the canopy, intricate avian architecture faces its ultimate mechanical stress test. Then, the atmospheric dam breaks. Millions of gallons of water crash against the parched soil, instantly supercooling the savanna and washing away months of desperate endurance. Amidst the deluge, a quiet biological marvel unfolds. transforming her feathers into a living, hydrophobic canopy. She does not merely block the rain. She radiates life-saving endothermic heat, turning her own fragile body into an absolute sanctuary. As the storm's initial fury softens into a steady, life-giving rhythm, the Savannah's smallest residents emerge from their sanctuaries. The deluge is no longer a threat. It is an evolutionary spa. Embracing the sudden moisture, they engage in a meticulous, instinctual ritual. As the storm clouds fracture, the saturated earth responds with an explosive biological bloom. The savanna is instantly flush with invertebrate life. Driven by the insatiable metabolic demands of their growing chicks, the parents are locked in an exhausting cycle of aerial foraging. Every delivery of high-yield protein is a delicate calculation of energy spent versus energy gained. A cold-blooded opportunist decodes the chemical trails left by the parents' frantic departures. Exploiting this brief, unguarded window, the predator closes in. Nature's newfound abundance is about to be violently redistributed. Closing the final inches, the serpent coils its kinetic frame for a lethal strike. But the predatory sequence is violently shattered. Fueled by maternal hyperaggression, she weaponizes her own body, forcing the cold-blooded opportunist into a sudden retreat. The immediate threat dissolves into the canopy. Through sheer maternal force, the biological investment is secured, and the fragile genetic lineage survives the daylight. To the untrained eye, arresting pride appears indolent, but this profound lethargy is a masterpiece of energy conservation. Engineered as a hyper-carnivore, its frame is built for brief, catastrophic explosions of kinetic force. Here, every calorie saved is a weapon stored. They are the only felines on Earth to have weaponized social architecture. When these apex tacticians finally rise, they do not merely hunt, they execute a devastating biological algorithm. Yet, the lion's absolute dominion ends abruptly at the water's edge. Here, the savanna's feline algorithm meets its ultimate evolutionary match. An ancient relic of the archosaurs, the Nile crocodile does not rely on speed. It operates on hydrostatic stealth, utilizing dermal pressure receptors to detect the microscopic ripples of a thirsty pride. Suspended in absolute buoyancy, this armored leviathan trades social tactics for sheer biomechanical violence, a crushing force of 5,000 pounds per square inch, designed not to slice, but to drown. When mammalian heat meets reptilian patience, the hierarchy of the wild is suspended. In this transitional zone, the crown is always contested. As the dry season tightens its grip, the savanna's fluid lifelines evaporate into isolated, muddy depressions. For the feline apex, the biological mandate for hydration begins to override their inherent caution. To drink is to surrender the sensory high ground. Lowering their heads, their peripheral vision is severely compromised. They have stepped into an ecological choke point, the absolute domain of the ambush sovereign. Submerged in the turbid depths, a prehistoric titan recalibrates its buoyancy. It does not hunt by sight in these murky waters. Guided by a network of dome pressure receptors, it reads the exact coordinates of the pride, locking onto the rhythmic, microscopic vibrations of their lapping tongues. Survival here is a microsecond calculation of reflexes, feline fast-twitch fibers firing against the archaic snap of reptilian jaws. In a fraction of a second, static tension detonates into aquatic violence. A ton of armored muscle defies gravity, launching a kinetic strike engineered to drag mammalian heat into the crushing dark. The ambush dissolves, but the message is brutally clear. At the water's edge, survival is nothing more than a negotiated truce. For the absolute monarchs of the savannah, the toll for a single drop of water is the constant, looming shadow of death. The violent kinetic exchange ceases. As adrenaline metabolizes, both predators retreat to their respective domains, trapped in a biological stalemate dictated by the limits of energy expenditure. The waterhole slowly reclaims its deceptive tranquility. In the broader ecological calculus, this clash was never a war of malice. It was simply a brutal negotiation of boundaries, where water is the ultimate currency. As the equatorial sun bakes the memory of this encounter into the fractured earth, the savannah prepares for the nocturnal shift. The felines will heal, the leviathan will wait. For in this ancient theater of survival, there are no permanent victors. There is only the eternal, unforgiving rhythm of life, demanding resilience from every beating heart. Within this dense, tangled microclimate, smaller species do not merely hide, they integrate. Utilizing rapid thermoregulation and acute seismic sensitivity, they turn the interlocking root systems into an advanced early warning grid. Driven by intense resource competition, species have evolved specialized morphological weaponry from reinforced armor plating to high-impact kinetic appendages. Every physical clash is a calculated gamble of the victor claims the ultimate ecological prize, exclusive access to caloric reserves and reproductive rights. In this harsh coastal fortress, conflict is the crucible that forces evolution forward. Beyond the relentless salt winds, the dense interior of the coastal scrub forms an impenetrable biological shield. Here, The interlocking canopy creates a stable microclimate, protecting life from the scorching ultraviolet radiation. Survival here is not always a physical clash. It is a masterclass in energy conservation. Daily behavioral rhythms are strictly dictated by the shifting temperature gradients. Deep within the scrub, a sounder of wild boars engages in intensive soil bioturbation. Their highly modified snouts act as powerful biomechanical plows, guided by an olfactory cortex capable of detecting subterranean caloric reserves. Intently focused on foraging, they are completely unaware that their body heat has just exposed their exact location to a hidden predator. A tiger relies on its natural camouflage. Its vertical stripes blend perfectly with the shadows of the palm leaves, making a 200-kilogram predator completely invisible. Wild boars possess an exceptional sense of smell, often surpassing that of dogs. To counter this, the tiger continuously monitors the airflow, moving strictly upwind so its scent is blown in the opposite direction. A tiger's paw is a masterpiece of sound suppression. Thick fat pads absorb the entire weight of its body, while a specialized ligament system keeps the claws fully retracted, ensuring absolute silence. Nature is unpredictable. A sudden micro-shift in the coastal wind alters the airflow. Instantly, the tiger's chemical signature is carried directly into the boar's highly sensitive snouts. The boar's olfactory receptors process the predator's scent in milliseconds. A massive adrenaline dump floods their system. Forced to react, the tiger abandons stealth. Its fast-twitch muscles fire simultaneously, releasing the stored elastic energy to launch 200 kilograms forward. The kinetic chase officially begins. The ambush explodes into a high-speed pursuit. Propelled by massive muscle contractions, the 200-kilogram predator accelerates to 60 kilometers per hour in seconds. But this is a biological ticking clock. It must secure the kill before lactic acid paralyzes its legs. But an apex predator is built to bypass chaos. The tiger's visual cortex instantly filters the distractions, locking onto a single, slightly slower individual. The death sentence is signed. Every ounce of kinetic energy is now laser-focused on this one prey. The violent transaction is complete. The rest of the herd survives another day, leaving the weakest behind. For the tiger, this blood-soaked victory provides a massive influx of calories, fueling its reign over the unforgiving coastal scrub. Driven by deep-rooted instincts, the apex predator seeks the sanctuary of the dense scrub. It claims a hidden refuge, a quiet space where the lingering scent of the hunt can safely dissolve into the evening breeze. In the pitch-black canopy, a marvel of evolution illuminates the dark. Under this gentle glow, the sovereign of the scrub quietly watches over the sleeping forest. Here, life does not simply exist, it marches, and the wildebeest are the undeniable pulse of these plains. Gathered by the millions, they are driven by an ancient, inescapable biological clock. Right now, it dictates only one thing: refuel. In this shimmering heat, the herd appears entirely at peace. Their synchronized grazing engineers the savanna. By stripping the coarse stalks, they return vital nutrients to the exhausted earth. But on the savanna, peace is merely an illusion, a brief, fragile pause before the hunters awaken. Out here, a single misstep is a fatal liability. There is no compassion in the wild. In the brutal calculus of survival, the vulnerable simply become an involuntary shield for the strong. The savanna is not at peace. It is merely holding its breath. In the oppressive midday heat, the apex predators of the savanna appear remarkably subdued. A pride can sleep up to 20 hours a day. It is not lethargy, but a highly evolved strategy of energy conservation. But hunger is a persistent alarm clock, and the matriarchs are always the first to answer its call. Her amber eyes possess 6 times the light sensitivity of a human. She is not just observing, she is calculating distance and isolating the vulnerable. Every subtle shift in the wind is analyzed to mask her scent, and every tuft of dry grass is mapped as potential cover. The rest of the world fades away, leaving only the precise geometry of the impending ambush. A few hundred yards away, the wildebeest remain anchored in a false sense of security. The wind sweeps across the plains, carrying their scent directly to the predators, masking the danger downwind. The lion's muscles stretch, preparing for anaerobic bursts of speed. Every member of the pride instinctively understands their role in the complex geometry of the ambush. The syndicate is mobilized. The savanna is a theater of profound indifference. The sun beats down on the dry earth, oblivious to the drama about to unfold. In this vast arena, survival is dictated by mere inches and fractions of a second. Yet, beneath this tranquil facade, nature remains ruthlessly impartial. It takes no sides. It merely provides the stage for the drama ahead. The script has already been written by millions of years of evolution. All that is left is the execution. And on this stage, the opening act is about to be written in dust and instinct. And the lead predator is already in position. The lead lioness utilizes the sun-bleached grass as a perfect cloak of invisibility. Walking on her toes, she minimizes contact with the dry foliage. Her shoulder blades absorb the impact, ensuring complete silence. She becomes a ghost in the grass. Head lowered to the earth, the wildebeest's field of vision is drastically reduced, a fatal blind spot. The lioness must close the gap to within 30 yards. She presses her belly flat against the scorching earth, exploiting every minor depression in the terrain to stay completely out of sight. Suddenly, a shift in behavior. The chewing stops. The ears flick forward. Has a shifting breeze betrayed the hunters? Or is it an instinctual premonition carved by millions of years of evolution? The tension becomes palpable. The silence is deafening. The lioness knows her cover is blown. Stealth must now be traded for explosive power. Her massive hind legs engage, propelling her forward with terrifying acceleration. The ambush is over. In a fraction of a second, the lioness's heart rate doubles, flooding her muscles with oxygen for the ultimate sprint. Her entire being is locked onto the target. From here on out, the slightest hesitation will turn a perfect ambush into total failure. The ancient dance of predator and prey has officially begun. The savannah shatters. Panic seizes the lone wildebeest, triggering a desperate flight for survival. The lioness erupts from the sun-scorched grass. At full sprint, she covers 50 feet a second. Her spine flexes like a coiled spring, maximizing each explosive stride. This is a deadly high-stakes race against her own rapidly rising body temperature. A collective wave of panic ripples through the herd, turning thousands of individuals into a single, fleeing organism. Panic seizes the lone wildebeest, triggering a desperate flight for survival. For the wildebeest, survival is brutally simple. You don't have to be the fastest in the herd, you just can't be the slowest. The swirling dust and a maze of galloping hooves are a defensive mechanism, designed to disorient the predator's focus. The gap closes. The impact is catastrophic. The lioness uses her formidable weight, nearly 300 pounds of pure muscle, and momentum to unbalance the fleeing wildebeest, grounding the heavy herbivore with calculated precision. The wildebeest's struggle inevitably subsides. The lioness clamps her powerful jaws over the prey's windpipe, applying hundreds of pounds of pressure to induce a swift, oxygen-deprived end to the ancient chase. This exhausting hunt is a triumph, securing a massive influx of calories, enough vital protein to sustain the lionesses for several days. The scent of a fresh wildebeest kill travels fast, acting as a beacon for opportunistic scavengers like hyenas and vultures. For now, however, the lion pride has earned its feast, metabolizing this vital energy to fuel the next generation of apex predators. The lion pride's feast begins. Nothing goes to waste on the savannah. To access the nutrient-rich meat, the lionesses must first breach the wildebeest's tough hide. They utilize specialized carnassial teeth at the back of their jaws, acting like biological shears to slice through thick skin and muscle with devastating efficiency. The hunters instinctively target the nutrient-dense internal organs first, the liver, heart, and kidneys, extracting maximum vitamins and trace minerals essential for their survival in this harsh environment. An adult lioness can consume up to a quarter of her own body weight in a single sitting. Her highly acidic stomach is perfectly adapted to rapidly digest massive quantities of raw protein, neutralizing potential pathogens found in the wild meat. As the pride gorges themselves, they are inadvertently preparing the carcass for the ecosystem's secondary consumers. Vultures and hyenas circle the perimeter, waiting for their turn at the ecological table. The wildebeest's sacrifice is converted into vital energy, ensuring the reign of these apex predators continues over this golden realm for another day. Mere hundreds of yards from the kill site, a jarring tranquility reclaims the savannah. The surviving wildebeest herd transitions instantly from primal panic to serene indifference. This rapid emotional reset is not callousness, but a vital evolutionary adaptation. Herbivores cannot afford to expend precious calories on lingering stress. In this wild kingdom, death is merely a brief interruption to the relentless rhythm of life. Dawn breaks over the African savanna, igniting a timeless crucible of life. Peace is merely a fleeting illusion, and survival is a currency earned by the second. The wildebeest begin their restless harvest. They are the chaotic engine of these plains, dynamic lawnmowers transforming dust into life. The giraffe, an evolutionary masterpiece. By conquering the canopy, they exploit resources untouched by rivals, operating as the savanna's living watchtowers. In this empire, a war is coming. A zebra's stripes are not for beauty. They are a calculated defense, a blinding canvas of motion dazzle, designed to shatter a predator's depth perception. A few miles away, the river provides a brief sanctuary. Spotted hyenas, often misunderstood as mindless scavengers. They are, in fact, one of Africa's most successful and highly intelligent predators. Here, in the water, they lower their core body temperature. It's not just play, it's preparation. But the hyenas' downtime abruptly ends. A shift in the breeze carries the scent of opportunity. Led by an alpha female, the clan locks onto their target. Their awkward gait is deeply deceptive. They aren't built for a quick sprint. They are relentless pursuit predators, engineered to run their prey into the ground. Blissfully unaware, the zebras continue their slow, rhythmic march. There is no tension here, just a peaceful drift across the wild plains. The hyenas halt. Now, the hunt begins. Oblivious to the eyes burning into them, the striped sentinels march on. Total silence, no iconic laughter. The hyenas use subtle ear flicks and body language to orchestrate their next move. The predators slip into the dry brush. Their spotted coats, acting as disruptive coloration, melt perfectly into the dappled shadows. They become ghosts in the grass. The zebra's pace slows. The heat breeds a false sense of security. The trap is set. The hyenas fan out, forming a wide crescent. A classic flanking maneuver to cut off escape routes. They don't need the perfect ambush. They just need panic. Once they force the zebras to scatter, the illusion breaks, and the hyenas will run their chosen target to absolute exhaustion. Muscles coil, hearts race. The savanna holds its breath as the hyenas prepare to unleash chaos. In a split second, the silence shatters as the hyenas break cover and charge towards the zebras. The zebras continue to graze. Each mouthful of grass drops their line of sight, anchoring them to the earth while danger coils just out of view. Suddenly, the hyenas surge forward. They launch their assault, closing the gap with terrifying efficiency. There is no roar, only the rapid thud of paws hitting the dry earth. A shift in the acoustic landscape alerts the zebras. Swiveling ears catch the approaching threat, and in an instant, grazing turns to flight. As the zebras sprint, their stripes merge into a dizzying wave of optical distortion, designed to confuse the hyenas' visual tracking. But the hyenas do not push for maximum speed. They settle into a rhythmic, relentless pursuit. Pounding across the plains, the zebras sprint for survival. The hyenas, built for unparalleled stamina, simply maintain their pace, slowly chipping away at the gap. The zebras push their massive lungs to the limit, pounding across the savanna in a desperate bid for distance. Believing they have gained enough ground, the zebras abruptly halt. They turn to observe and rely on their sharp eyesight to measure the remaining danger. It is a fatal miscalculation. The hyenas crest the ridge, bringing them right into striking range. Panic sets in. The zebras freeze. They stand completely still, locked in a state of high-stress paralysis. The hyenas complete their maneuver. The crescent closes into a tight circle, and the zebras are surrounded. The hyenas strike. They do not aim for the throat. They target the hind legs. A brutal tactic designed to cripple the zebra's mobility. Every bite is a calculated attempt to anchor a 1,000-pound animal to the earth. The savanna watches. To them, the zebra's fight means one thing: The hyenas are occupied, and the plains are temporarily safe. But the zebras are far from defenseless. Driven by pure adrenaline, they fight back. A zebra's hind kick delivers over 2,000 pounds of force, enough to instantly shatter a predator's skull. They group together, turning their defensive panic into an offensive wall of striking hooves and snapping teeth. The math changes. Facing an unacceptable risk of severe injury, the hyena's assault is broken. The wild absorbs the violence, remaining entirely indifferent to the struggles of its inhabitants. Silence slowly reclaims the landscape. Beaten and exhausted, the hyenas retreat. In the wild, every hunt is an economic equation. When the cost of energy and the risk of physical damage outweigh the reward, predators must yield. They walk away with empty stomachs, preserving their lives for the next pursuit. For the zebras, survival comes with a price. They gather to tend to the injured. This behavior, known as allogrooming, is about much more than cleaning wounds. The physical contact releases endorphins, lowering their heart rates and rapidly neutralizing the trauma of the battle. Their social bond is the true key to their resilience. As the sun dips below the horizon, the temperature drops, and the rules of the savanna transform. Day transitions to dusk, painting the sky in fiery hues. The failing light will soon strip the zebras of their visual advantage. It is a brief moment of tranquility, the closing chapter of today's crucible.
Bathed in the light of dawn, the savanna stands as a thriving architectural marvel. Billions of grass blades intercept the early rays, forming a dense, structurally complex canopy. It is a highly efficient biological engine, transforming this optimal light into a sprawling, impenetrable terrestrial labyrinth. The inhabitants of the savanna drift in quiet harmony, foraging within an illusion of perfect peace. Yet, this lush abundance weaves a formidable wall. The interwoven blades create a veil that completely swallows the line of sight. For these gentle wanderers, survival is the quiet art of navigating blind spots, an ecosystem woven entirely from physical concealment.
Down at the soil, lush abundance weaves a formidable wall. The interwoven blades create a veil that completely swallows the line of sight. For those who dwell in the undergrowth, survival is the quiet art of navigating blind spots. This is an ecosystem woven entirely from physical concealment.
Yet, every illusion of concealment shatters when observed from above. Taking to the vertical axis, the avian hunter glides effortlessly over the terrestrial wall. Through complex acoustic frequencies, unseen avian residents synchronize their ecological rhythms, weaving an invisible auditory grid across the canopy. Others engage in meticulous preening, realigning the microstructures of their feathers to restore absolute aerodynamic perfection. From harvesting dewdrops to gleaning seeds, they seamlessly integrate into the labyrinth. Each feathered silhouette finds its precise ecological niche, composing a gentle, breathing poetry of the morning savanna. While most avian predators rule from the sky, an evolutionary anomaly stalks the terrestrial matrix: the secretary bird. Standing over 1.2 meters tall, it has forfeited sustained flight for supreme bipedal locomotion. Its elongated tarsometatarsal bones act as biological pendulums, allowing it to stride gracefully across the dry grass patches with maximum thermodynamic efficiency. In a habitat where height dictates survival, its towering stature is a strategic advantage. It is a mobile, biological watchtower. The predatory gaze is locked. It utilizes binocular vision to calculate distance and depth with absolute geometric precision. Piercing through the sun-bleached stalks, these eyes filter out optical noise, searching for the slightest morphological anomaly hiding in the dust. This ceaseless patrol is driven by a critical metabolic deficit. Miles away, a nest of altricial chicks demands a constant influx of calories. To fuel their rapid cellular division, the parent must cover up to 30 kilometers a day, systematically scanning every inch of this unforgiving terrain. Failure to extract biomass means the collapse of the next generation.
The visual matrix yields no confirmed signature. The target remains elusive, yet its biological weaponry stays primed. Unlike other raptors, the secretary bird does not rely on its beak. Its evolutionary specialty is blunt force trauma. Its heavily scaled legs store a lethal reserve of latent kinetic energy. If triggered, they can deliver a localized impact equal to 5 times its own body weight in just 15 milliseconds. But without a locked spatial coordinate, this devastating physical shockwave is withheld. The energy transfer is postponed. The metabolic pressure on the parent continues to mount. With no biomatter secured, the relentless stride resumes. In the vast concealing geometry of the savanna, the secretary bird must constantly bridge the gap between infinite patience and impending starvation. It remains an apex predator bound to the earth, continuing its relentless scan of the plains, one calculated step at a time. The savanna is an ocean of kinetic noise. The breeze constantly manipulates the grass, generating thousands of false visual triggers. To avoid striking at phantoms, the secretary bird employs an advanced neurological filter. By processing structural frequencies, it isolates the chaotic rhythm of the wind from the deliberate, localized friction of a biological entity. The neurological filter finally isolates the ultimate target, a venomous snake. The friction of scales against dry earth provides exact spatial coordinates, allowing the secretary bird to calibrate its lethal kinetic strike. This is not mere prey. It is a living syringe loaded with hemotoxic venom. Detecting the avian predator, the serpent abandons camouflage for a kinetic defense. It coils its muscular geometry into a biological spring, loading maximum potential energy. Elevating its cranial structure, it establishes a mathematically precise lethal strike radius. The savanna plunges into an absolute thermodynamic stalemate. The secretary bird breaches the lethal zone. It unfurls its wings not for flight, but as optical decoys to disrupt the snake's thermal and visual tracking. In this high-stakes biomechanical duel, the first to miscalculate the millisecond reaction threshold will be consumed. Instead of an immediate assault, the secretary bird engages in precise reflex manipulation. It performs micro-feints, shifting its weight and rhythmically bobbing its cranial structure to constantly recalibrate its depth perception. The avian predator is intentionally testing the serpent's trigger threshold, attempting to provoke a premature strike. For the serpent, maintaining this coiled geometry demands an immense expenditure of cellular energy. Locked at peak kinetic tension, lactic acid rapidly floods its muscular spring. Every agonizing second of delay actively degrades its thermodynamic reserves. The living weapon is slowly breaking down from within, crushed by the sheer physical toll of its own defensive posture. Every calculated step is designed to measure the exact striking arc of those venomous fangs. By forcing the snake to remain coiled at maximum tension, the bird slowly drains its opponent's thermodynamic reserves. It is dismantling the biological spring, one agonizing second at a time. The snake strikes at blinding speed, but the secretary bird's reflexes outpace physical acceleration. Its chaotic wing shield absorbs the snake's venomous bite into harmless feathers. The secretary bird's legs become biological pistons. A flurry of strikes delivers kinetic shocks 5 times its body weight, instantly overwhelming the serpent's sensory network. One final kinetic transfer. The secretary bird delivers a precise vertical stomp to suppress all movement. The physical shockwave shuts down the central nervous system. The biological syringe is permanently neutralized. The secretary bird takes flight, carrying her hard-won prize to a canopy fortress, a massive nest heavily guarded by a thorny acacia. Inside this secure ecological cradle, the once lethal serpent is repurposed into vital protein, fueling the rapid growth of the savanna's next generation of apex predators. The scent of fresh protein rarely goes unnoticed. A new chemical signature drifts across the savanna, instantly intercepted by the highly evolved olfactory bulb of a honey badger. Guided by scent gradients, the honey badger tracks the biomatter directly to the base of the acacia. The tree's formidable thorns are structurally designed to repel climbers, but the badger possesses an evolutionary countermeasure. The honey badger's skin is a dermal marvel up to 6 millimeters thick and exceptionally loose, a biological armor rendering this creature virtually impervious to botanical defenses. Fueled by an insatiable hunger, the badger refuses to stop. The canopy fortress is under assault by the savanna's most relentless biological tank. The canopy fortress is not unguarded. Detecting the intrusion, the mother secretary bird initiates a defensive dive, weaponizing gravity itself. Spreading her massive 2-meter wingspan, she maximizes her visual profile to intimidate the honey badger. The second thermodynamic duel of the day begins. The honey badger relies on its thick dermal armor, but the secretary bird counters with relentless kinetic bombardment. A barrage of bipedal kicks directly targets the badger's compromised center of gravity. Battered by continuous kinetic shockwaves, the badger is forced to yield. Calculating the unsustainable caloric deficit of this conflict, the savanna's fiercest brawler concedes. It retreats into the brush, its biological armor thoroughly tested by avian fury. The threat evaporates. The mother secretary bird stands victorious, erecting her cranial crest in a striking display of territorial dominance. She has fiercely protected her genetic investment. A terrestrial assassin and a devoted guardian, she remains the undisputed biomechanical apex of the plains. The savanna is not merely a landscape, It is a thermodynamic engine. Here, sunlight is the primary currency, driving a relentless biological economy. For apex predators, hunting is not an act of malice, but a strict calculation, waiting for the exact moment to seize that energy with minimal caloric waste. On these plains, herbivores act as living energy converters, guarded by a hypersensitive sensory network. As midday solar radiation peaks, the savanna's thermodynamics drastically shift. Optically, this arid matrix appears as a static, lifeless void, but this profound emptiness is a physical illusion. To survive, the flora utilizes microphyllae, minimizing leaf surface areas to halt transpiration and lock in cellular moisture. Navigating this arid matrix, herbivores optimize metabolic efficiency. Warthogs target underground tubers. These roots act as biological vaults, storing essential water and starch. Their cartilaginous snouts function as specialized excavators. A lioness's massive muscular frame generates lethal internal heat. By entering a state of deep metabolic conservation, she is actively supercharging her fast-twitch muscle fibers with glycogen. She is banking explosive kinetic energy, waiting for the thermal waves to dissipate and the perfect acoustic blind spot to open. Driven by the pressure of caloric intake, the warthog's biological radar is neutralized. The friction of excavating dry earth creates an auditory mask, perfectly concealing the approaching predator. The lioness utilizes retractable claws and specialized digital pads to absorb shock, effectively muting her footfalls across the brittle terrain. Relying on disruptive coloration to blend with the sun-bleached grass, she calculates the critical strike distance while navigating strictly downwind, ensuring her olfactory signature is blown away from the prey. The acoustic mask drops. Propelled by an explosive contraction of fast-twitch muscle fibers, the lioness accelerates to 80 kilometers per hour. The warthog's head snaps up, instantly flooding its visual cortex with the reality of the ambush. Panic triggers a massive adrenaline dump. The warthog flees with its tail erect, a biological flag coordinating the herd's chaotic dispersal. It employs erratic lateral evasion to shatter the feline's linear momentum. Igniting a spectacular high-speed pursuit, the warthog leverages evasive stamina, while the lion's ambush-engineered anatomy rapidly hits the anaerobic threshold, flooding her muscles with debilitating lactic acid. Plunging straight into a deep subterranean hole, the warthog completely removes itself from the surface battlefield. By retreating into the dark depths, it secures a definitive spatial advantage. The lioness aggressively reaches down the pit, but a feline's retractable claws are engineered for surface grappling, not heavy excavation. Safe in the depths, the warthog expands its ribcage, wedging its body against the earthen walls with immense isometric force. The lioness reaches blindly into the dark shaft, desperate to hook her prey. But the warthog has retreated deeper, moving well beyond the maximum extension of the feline's forelimbs. Her specialized claws swipe at empty dirt, completely failing to make contact. Confronted by this stark anatomical limit, the apex predator is rendered entirely powerless. Unable to extract a target she cannot even reach, she absorbs the metabolic loss and walks away, defeated by the sheer depth of the earth. Only when the surface vibrations fade does the warthog break its subterranean silence. A cautious snout emerges first, performing a rigorous olfactory sweep to definitively confirm the predator's scent has dissipated. Stepping back into the fading light, the animal undergoes a rapid physiological reset. The parasympathetic nervous system engages, flushing out residual cortisol and decelerating a heart rate that was just pushed to its absolute biological limits. As the golden hour washes over the arid scrub, the brush with death is simply swallowed by the dusk. The cycle resets, and another day is won in this perfectly balanced, ruthless matrix. The Serengeti, a vast golden crucible, operating at the very limits of biological endurance. As surface temperatures soar past 50 degrees Celsius, the moisture vanishes. The savanna enters a state of physiological dormancy. In this blinding theater of light, survival is no longer just a race against the hunter. It is a silent, masterful game of thermal economics. The dry season haunts the Serengeti. An endless plain of withered grass stretches to the horizon. The morning sun rises, revealing a cracked and thirsty earth. The herds must feed before the heat of the day sets in. The grass is dry and brittle. It offers almost no water, but hunger drives them. The morning calm is an illusion. They eat, but their senses are working in overdrive. Ears pivot independently, listening to the dry grass. Wide eyes scan the horizon. Out here, a single moment of distraction is fatal. On this scorched plain, there are no shadows to hide behind. A solitary hunter must melt into the barren earth itself, a leopard she hasn't eaten in days. Out here, the dry season strips away all margins for error. Her ribs press against her coat, but a starving predator is a focused one. Hunger sharpens every instinct. She navigates the shifting brush. Her spotted coat dissolves into the dry thicket. Perfect camouflage. Specialized pads on her paws absorb the sound of her own weight. She is reading the chemical trails left in the dust. The predator observes a dense cluster of healthy adults. Attacking such a tightly packed group carries a massive biomechanical risk. A single defensive kick from a mature animal possesses enough blunt force to shatter a leopard's rib. In this harsh environment, a fractured bone is a death sentence. The feline brain constantly calculates the probability of injury. Therefore, she abandons this approach and moves along the perimeter. She targets another flank of the grazing herd. Suddenly, the wind shifts. Scent molecules are carried forward, instantly compromising the predator's stealth advantage. Furthermore, the animals in this sector are highly alert, offering a poor probability of a successful kill. The thermal energy burned in a sprint must yield a guaranteed caloric return. Every hunt follows a ruthless biological equation of energy return on investment. The savanna is crowded with hundreds of moving animals. To overcome the visual confusion of the herd, the predator's visual cortex must filter the chaotic data. She scans the mass and isolates a single anomaly on the periphery, a slight hesitation in its gait, a momentary lapse in vigilance. Instantly, the autonomic nervous system takes over. Her heart rate drops to stabilize the core. Sustained muscular tension generates massive internal heat. Yet, the respiratory rate must be suppressed. A single pant broadcasts an acoustic warning. The predator operates on the borderline of physiological overheating and absolute stealth. Pupils dilate to maximize visual input. Muscle fibers tense, storing kinetic energy. The biological lock-on is complete. The physical gap must be closed. The leopard's skeleton is engineered for absolute stealth. Free-floating collarbones act as biological shock absorbers. They cushion the body's weight, preventing any vibration from reaching the ground. Every step is calculated to avoid a single sound. The predator slowly enters the critical ambush radius. The predator faces a formidable biological defense. The zebra herd operates as a unified sensory network. Laterally positioned eyes provide a near 360-degree field of vision. Dozens of ears constantly scan the acoustic environment. To approach, the leopard must navigate blind spots that barely exist. A micro shift in the air currents carries a foreign scent molecule. Alternatively, they detect the sudden, unnatural silence of local insects. The zebras cannot see the threat, but their nervous systems register the environmental anomaly. Muscle fibers twitch in anticipation. The leopard instantly freezes. The psychological standoff begins. The leopard breaches the flight initiation distance. Instantly, the zebra's endocrine systems release massive surges of adrenaline. Heart rates violently spike. The biological tension reaches a critical threshold. The predator must strike right now, before the herd's self-preservation instincts completely override their hesitation. The herd's sensory network detects an environmental anomaly. The zebras instantly freeze, entering a state of hypervigilance. Fleeing blindly without a directional vector is statistically lethal. It risks running directly into an ambush. Their sympathetic nervous systems are fully primed, yet they hold their ground. The predator is forced into absolute stillness. A psychological standoff begins. The ambush is triggered. The leopard's fast-twitch muscle fibers ignite, converting stored energy into lethal acceleration. The savannah erupts into absolute chaos. As the zebras flee, their overlapping stripes generate a phenomenon known as motion dazzle. This high-contrast optical illusion directly disrupts the feline's visual cortex. It destroys depth perception and makes isolating a single target incredibly difficult. The predator is forced to calculate her attack trajectory through a moving maze of flashing patterns. The leopard's fast-twitch muscle fibers ignite, converting stored glycogen into explosive kinetic energy. She accelerates to top speed in mere seconds. The hunt instantly shifts from absolute stealth to pure biomechanical power. As the zebras flee, their overlapping stripes generate a phenomenon known as motion dazzle. This high-contrast optical illusion directly disrupts the feline's visual cortex. The physical gap is closed. The leopard deploys her retractable claws, acting as biological grappling hooks to anchor onto the target's mass. She aims directly for the trachea, attempting to secure a rapid asphyxiation hold. For a fleeting microsecond, the apex predator dominates the kinetic exchange. But the prey refuses to succumb. A high-frequency distress vocalization pierces the air. This acoustic signal triggers an aggressive, altruistic response from the herd. Instead of scattering, the zebras pivot. They weaponize their sheer numbers, initiating a coordinated mobbing behavior to encircle the attacker. The power dynamic violently reverses. Equines possess massively dense hindquarters, capable of delivering blunt force trauma exceeding 1,000 pounds per square inch. A single connected kick can easily shatter a feline skull. The leopard's lightweight skeletal frame, evolved strictly for aerodynamic speed, is profoundly outmatched in a physical brawl. The savannah dictates a brutal equilibrium. There are no ultimate victors, only temporary survivors in an ongoing evolutionary arms race. Today, the herd's defensive matrix neutralized the feline's kinetic strike. For the leopard, the physiological countdown to starvation accelerates. For the zebras, the rhythmic cycle of the plains continues. A realm forged in fractured stone and suffocating ice. Welcome to the roof of the world. Up here, oxygen is a luxury, and the cold is a ruthless executioner. Yet, clinging to the edge of the abyss, a herd of mountain goats, phantoms of the high alpine, navigating a 60-degree death drop as if it were a casual stroll. But surviving the extremes is only half the battle. This young goat drinks a liquid lifeline. The mother's fat-rich milk acts as a metabolic furnace. For the mountain antelope, extreme altitude is their armor. They retreat to these treacherous ridges to escape the jaws of ground-dwelling predators. Safe above the tree line, they believe they are untouchable. Enter the golden eagle, an apex avian assassin with a 7-foot wingspan, riding the invisible thermal updrafts with effortless, terrifying precision. Forced to cross deep snow, The antelope's greatest defense, their speed, is instantly stripped away. They are vulnerable. High above the clouds, the winged Terminator locks onto her target. The ambush is set. As the snow retreats, the brutal mountain reveals a softer side. This highland valley transforms from a frozen wasteland into a fleeting oasis of life. The warming sun triggers an explosion of nutrient-dense vegetation across the slopes, a temporary feast served on a grand scale. What looks like idle rest is actually hard metabolic work. They ruminate, maximizing the nutrient extraction from every single blade of grass. Emerging from months of winter fasting, the brown bear is driven by a singular, overwhelming urge, hyperphagia, an insatiable, biological need to consume. The river, it is a vital artery of life, but also a fiercely contested arena. Here, strict hierarchies dictate survival. Catching them requires explosive acceleration. Despite weighing over 800 pounds, a grizzly can strike with astonishing liquid speed. Each bear employs a distinct strategy. Some stand like statues, instinctively calculating the optical refraction of the water to gauge the exact depth of their prey. Others rely on brute force, pinning the muscular, slippery fish directly to the riverbed. In times of abundance, the bears become selective gourmets. They prioritize the skin, brains, and roe the parts richest in essential fats. Sated, the titans retreat to the shores. The frantic urgency subsides, replaced by the heavy lethargy of digestion. Driven by an insatiable biological imperative, this apex predator patrols the treacherous alpine slopes. Every calorie burned climbing must be replaced with flesh. The mountain goats detect a disturbance in the landscape. A massive silhouette breaking the horizon. The ambush breaks, accelerating with terrifying speed. The mother mountain goat and her young kid are driven to the absolute edge. They retreat onto a fragile, overhanging branch. The grizzly bear brings 1,000 pounds of lethal force, but physics is the ultimate equalizer. As the immediate threat dissipates, adrenaline slowly gives way to exhaustion. Bathed in the golden glow of the alpine sunset, the mother mountain goat and her young kid reclaim their sanctuary. In this unforgiving vertical kingdom, life is a delicate, razor-thin balance, where one calculated step dictates who lives to see another dawn. For months, this fractured Earth has endured a state of suspended animation. This is not merely a change in weather, but as barometric pressure plummets, a volatile chemical signal rides the incoming winds. It is a violent continent-wide biological awakening. Down below, the larger herbivores anchor themselves against the blinding dust squalls. They do not flee. High in the canopy, intricate avian architecture faces its ultimate mechanical stress test. Then, the atmospheric dam breaks. Millions of gallons of water crash against the parched soil, instantly supercooling the savanna and washing away months of desperate endurance. Amidst the deluge, a quiet biological marvel unfolds. Transforming her feathers into a living, hydrophobic canopy, she does not merely block the rain. She radiates life-saving endothermic heat, turning her own fragile body into an absolute sanctuary. As the storm's initial fury softens into a steady, life-giving rhythm, the savanna's smallest residents emerge from their sanctuaries. The deluge is no longer a threat. It is an evolutionary spa. Embracing the sudden moisture, they engage in a meticulous, instinctual ritual. As the storm clouds fracture, the saturated earth responds with an explosive biological bloom. The savanna is instantly flush with invertebrate life. Driven by the insatiable metabolic demands of their growing chicks, the parents are locked in an exhausting cycle of aerial foraging. Every delivery of high-yield protein is a delicate calculation of energy spent versus energy gained. Kote Alin, the Russian Far East. Here, the northern taiga collides with subarctic frost. Temperatures plummet to -40 degrees Celsius. The African semi-desert, an ecosystem defined by extreme thermal amplitude. Surface temperatures can fluctuate by 40 degrees Celsius within a single diurnal cycle. The female ostrich has entered the pre-oviposition phase. As an obligate ground-nesting species, she must survey the terrain to locate a precise geographic depression, a communal scrape. The environmental selection criteria are mathematically strict. Optimal soil substrate for egg heat retention at night, and an unobstructed 360-degree field of vision. In a landscape patrolled by apex predators, a topographical miscalculation equals the eradication of a genetic generation. The scrape chosen by the female ostrich is optimal, but contested. A reptilian interloper, the African monitor lizard. The female ostrich initiates a threat display, expanding her wings to maximize visual volume. A biomechanical stalemate with the monitor lizard forces the female ostrich to concede the micro-territory. Driven by the physiological urgency of imminent oviposition, she recalculates her spatial map. The search perimeter must be expanded beyond the reptile's foraging radius. She requires a specific ecological matrix: coarse sand for drainage, sparse flora for early predator detection, and optimal solar exposure to passively incubate the clutch during diurnal foraging. Time is the ultimate limiting factor. Driven by relentless solar radiation and a severe deficit of atmospheric moisture, the African semi-desert operates as a thermodynamic furnace where only highly specialized biology can maintain physiological homeostasis. Bipedal locomotion allows the female ostrich to cover vast distances with minimal caloric expenditure. Her elastic tendons store and release kinetic energy with each stride, functioning as biological springs. The female ostrich instinctively avoids dense vegetation. Ambush predators, such as the African lion or leopard, rely on structural cover to close the critical kill distance. An open radius provides an essential optical early warning system. A potential site is identified: a natural depression characterized by coarse, well-draining quartz sand. This specific mineral composition absorbs solar radiation during the day, acting as a thermal battery for the clutch when nocturnal temperatures plummet. Sensory receptors in her metatarsals evaluate the substrate's density. By utilizing a bilateral sweeping motion, she modifies the microtopography. The resulting geometry is mathematically calculated to prevent a heavily calcified egg from rolling out of the central incubation zone. The architectural blueprint is complete. Her neurochemistry shifts, lowering cortisol levels as perceived environmental threats diminish. In this unforgiving, sun-scorched theater, the female ostrich has secured the ultimate stronghold for oviposition. Oviposition is complete. The female ostrich now guards a communal clutch. Each highly calcified egg weighs approximately 1.5 kilograms, representing a massive biological investment. Diurnal incubation is her exclusive responsibility. Her cryptic, earth-toned plumage acts as a thermal shield, actively intercepting solar radiation to prevent the embryos from exceeding their critical thermal limit of 39 degrees Celsius. After 42 days of thermodynamic incubation, a critical biological sequence initiates. The neonate utilizes a temporary egg tooth to fracture a 2 millimeter thick calcium carbonate fortress from within. Despite rapid growth, juvenile mortality approaches 90%. When terrestrial predators are detected, the chicks deploy a passive defense, collapsing to mimic arid scrubland, aided by their spiny, disruptive down. The female ostrich assumes dual roles as a biological shield and an early warning radar. By extending her wings, she creates a critical microclimate of shade, while her 2-inch ocular globes continuously compute visual threat data across the relentless semi-desert geometry. At 3 weeks post-hatching, the metabolic demands of the chicks skyrocket. They exhibit a staggering growth rate of 1 centimeter per day, driven by constant foraging. Equipped with the largest eyes of any terrestrial vertebrate, the female ostrich detects a subtle anomaly disrupting the thermal waves of the underbrush. An African monitor lizard. It navigates using advanced chemosensory data, continuously flicking a bifurcated tongue to extract the chick's olfactory signature via the Jacobson's organ. Its sprawling, low-slung posture nullifies seismic vibrations. An ectothermic stalking protocol. It evades visual detection, calculating precise kinetic variables before the strike. As solar radiation ceases, the semi-desert's rapid radiational cooling triggers a thermodynamic crisis for the neonates, transforming into an insulating canopy to counteract lethal hypothermia. The female transfers core heat, while her auditory cortex remains hypervigilant for nocturnal predators. The monitor lizard computes the metabolic cost of a physical confrontation against a hypervigilant adult. The reptile aborts the ambush, prioritizing energy conservation over caloric gain. But the visual and olfactory signatures of the chicks have attracted mammalian predators, African wild dogs. They operate on complex pack dynamics, utilizing coordinated endurance running to exploit vulnerabilities in defensive perimeters, while an African wildcat opportunistically utilizes peripheral camouflage to stalk the brood amid this sensory distraction. The female ostrich counters with lethal biomechanics. Her forward bipedal strikes act as kinetic battering rams, capable of shattering a canine's ribcage. Calculating the high mortality risk, the pack scatters. Maximizing her wingspan, the female simulates an overwhelming biological footprint. Confronted by this physical disparity, the feline retreats, securing the genetic lineage for another day. A sudden aerial threat intercepts, a martial eagle. Circling in the high-altitude thermals, a martial eagle computes a lethal aerodynamic trajectory. Plotting its strike, the apex raptor prepares to utilize gravitational acceleration in a high-velocity dive targeting the matriarch's vital cranial receptors. The monitor lizard returns, exploiting the previous mammalian distraction. Its ectothermic metabolism affords immense biological patience, waiting for a critical lapse in maternal vigilance. The female instantly counters. She deploys a series of precision bipedal strikes. The sheer kinetic impact overpowers the reptile's osteoderm armor, forcing a definitive retreat. To neutralize the final aerial adversary, the mother ostrich leverages her sheer biological mass. Rearing up to intercept the eagle, she deploys her dynamic wingspan to shatter its aerodynamic trajectory, defeating the ultimate threat through vertical superiority. The multi-tiered predatory assault fails. Sympathetic nervous systems downregulate. In this relentless kinetic furnace, the matriarch has engineered a rare, transient state of ecological equilibrium for her brood. Yet, this sanctuary is fleeting. Driven by unrelenting metabolic demands, the family must immediately resume their nomadic traverse across the unforgiving biome. In the unforgiving calculus of the African savanna, survival is never absolute. It is a continuous evolutionary tax. Until these precocial chicks reach full maturity, the matriarch remains their ultimate biological shield, marching forward into the endless war of attrition that defines this semi-desert biome. The African savanna is a vast, semi-arid biome defined by the brutal thermal dynamics of the dry season. Here, primary productivity dictates the survival of the entire trophic cascade. At the apex of this food web, a biological clock is ticking. After a gestation period of roughly 110 days, this female lion, Panthera leo, must temporarily sever ties with her pride. Isolation is a crucial evolutionary strategy to protect her vulnerable offspring from infanticide and opportunistic predators. Before parturition, elevated levels of prolactin and oxytocin induce active nesting behavior. The expulsion phase yields a litter of altricial cubs, highly vulnerable neonates born immobile and with minimal metabolic reserves. The statistical reality of the savanna is unforgiving. Biologically, up to 80% of these cubs will not survive their first year. For the lioness and her offspring, continuous tactile stimulation serves vital physiological functions. Beyond oxytocin-mediated maternal bonding, the mother's rhythmic grooming provides mechanical friction that directly stimulates the cub's underdeveloped digestive and excretory systems. The cub's playful interactions are far from trivial. They are complex neuromuscular simulations. Through mock ambushes, they actively forge the synaptic pathways required for future apex predation. Meanwhile, the lioness maintains a hyper-vigilant perimeter, constantly analyzing chemical cues in the wind to intercept potential threats from rival carnivores. Beyond the protective brush, the savanna opens into a vast biochemical factory. The dominant flora here utilizes C4 photosynthesis, a highly efficient metabolic pathway evolved to maximize carbon fixation while minimizing water loss under intense ultraviolet radiation. This relentless engine of primary production forms the structural foundation of the entire biome. This convergence of nutrient-dense forage and accessible water generates one of the highest mammalian carrying capacities on Earth. For a lioness managing a severe caloric deficit, this hyper-abundant ecosystem is a calculated arena of thermodynamics. The savanna continuously generates the biological fuel. She must now deploy her biomechanics to extract it. Utilizing the dense riparian vegetation for optical camouflage, the lioness calculates her attack vector. The padded digits absorb acoustic vibrations, allowing for near-silent locomotion. The prey the lioness has chosen is a megaherbivore, Hippopotamus amphibius. A brutal isometric struggle ensues. The lioness launches, sinking retractable claws into the hippo's thick epidermis to anchor herself, attempting a precision strike at the carotid artery. For several tense moments, the lioness leverages her entire body mass in a desperate bid to exhaust the megaherbivore. With a sudden explosive torque of its massive cervical muscles, the hippo violently breaks the stalemate. Utilizing its 1,800 pounds per square inches bite force to physically overpower and reject the apex predator. These hydrodynamic disturbances are immediately intercepted by Crocodilus niloticus, the Nile crocodile. Embedded along the reptile's jawline are specialized integumentary sense organs, ISOs, capable of detecting microscopic shifts in water pressure. Calculating the exact vector of the mammalian distress signals, the ectothermic predator initiates its stealth protocol, utilizing bradycardia to drastically lower its heart rate. Propelled by massive axial musculature, the crocodile initiates a kinetic ambush, deploying a 5,000 pounds per square inches bite force designed to execute a fatal hydrodynamic death roll. Fueled by a sudden epinephrine surge, the lioness detonates her remaining fast-twitch muscle fibers for a lateral evasion, breaching the bank but incurring a devastating metabolic cost and severe lactic acid buildup. Welcome to the biological engine of the tropics. Here, the flora is heavily armored. Scattered, drought-resistant canopies employ deep taproots and modified cellular structures to hoard moisture against extreme evaporation. Across the open plains, massive herds of herbivores engage in a continuous harvest. They operate as mobile bioreactors, using multi-chambered stomachs to convert indigestible cellulose into metabolic fuel. This piece is a defensive mechanism. Eyes on the sides of their heads provide a 360-degree visual radar, while massive herd numbers drastically reduce the probability of an individual falling prey. Navigating this exposed ecosystem requires a distinct biomechanical strategy. Baboons utilize specialized quadrupedal locomotion, engineering their musculoskeletal framework to endure prolonged exposure and traverse vast distances across the open plains. Their primary defense is not camouflage, but complex social architecture. The troop operates as a highly coordinated security grid, governed by a strict hierarchy to regulate internal stress and efficiently distribute resources. As opportunistic omnivores, they are built for metabolic efficiency. Equipped with specialized cheek pouches, they rapidly harvest and store calories from grass corms to invertebrates, minimizing their time in vulnerable foraging postures. For the baboon, the troop itself is the ultimate biological fortress against the savanna. The savanna's apex guild operates on strict energetic partitioning. Leopards utilize fast-twitch muscle fibers for solitary, short-range ambushes. Lions leverage collective mass and explosive kinetic bursts to overpower heavy targets. In stark contrast, the spotted hyena engineers a completely different metabolic strategy.
The spotted hyena is an elite cursorial hunter. Contradicting the scavenger myth, their skeletal anatomy, featuring an angled spine and robust forequarters, is mechanically optimized to minimize caloric expenditure over extreme distances. For juvenile baboons, play is strictly physiological. It is an evolutionary rehearsal, hardwiring the motor skills and spatial awareness required for savanna survival. A solitary hyena registers this neural activity. Despite possessing a bone-crushing bite force of 1100 psi, it triggers a rigid risk assessment matrix rather than a blind ambush. The juveniles remain securely within the troop's defensive perimeter. Adult male baboons, armed with canine teeth longer than a leopard's, form a lethal biological barrier. Hunting here demands absolute geometric discipline. The hyena anchors itself at the boundary, conserving calories, waiting for a single spatial error to fracture the troop's integrity. The hyena's neural circuitry temporarily suppresses its predatory drive. Engaging a cohesive primate troop presents a mathematically unviable risk of catastrophic injury. The hyena operates on a strict metabolic budget. By anchoring in the thermal shadows, it conserves core energy while its auditory cortex continuously scans the troop's perimeter for statistical anomalies.
It is a biological weapon, fully primed for the strike, requiring only a single sensory trigger to unleash its kinetic payload.
The prey's panic could instantly trigger a coordinated counterattack from the adults. Patience eventually yields a geometric reward. A juvenile breaches the safety radius, severing its direct line of sight with the alpha sentinels. The biological fortress has fractured. The wait is over. The hyena initiates a complex acoustic protocol. It emits a low-frequency vocalization optimized to bypass atmospheric distortion. This signal traverses the savannah, triangulating its coordinates and summoning the clan's strike force. For the maternal baboon, carrying a juvenile introduces severe parasitic drag. The added mass disrupts her locomotor efficiency, accelerating cardiovascular fatigue.
The maternal baboon's center of gravity is critically shifted, forcing her core musculature into overdrive to maintain balance during high-speed evasion. Simultaneously, physical contact with the infant restricts thermal dissipation, driving the mother's core temperature toward critical limits with every stride. On open ground, the evolutionary mismatch is exposed. The hyena pack operates as an aerobic engine, utilizing their oversized lungs to process massive volumes of oxygen, turning the chase into a calculated war of physiological attrition. The savanna's hardened terrain becomes a hostile variable in this high-speed pursuit. Unpredictable microtopography drastically elevates the probability of a fatal kinematic failure. This is not a chaotic sprint, it is active vector control. The pack deploys a pincer movement, dynamically adjusting their pursuit angles to cut off all spatial trajectories and completely isolate the target. The baboon's fast-twitch muscle fibers cross the critical anaerobic threshold. Lactic acid floods her system, systematically impairing motor neuron functions. Her physical collapse is now dictated purely by cellular chemistry. With ATP reserves critically depleted, the electrochemical signals misfire. Every subsequent stride exponentially loses velocity, finalizing a mechanical deceleration that cannot be reversed. Cornered by the hyena pack, the geometric trap strictly closes around the mother and infant baboon. Cortisol saturates the primate's bloodstream as flight transitions into a futile defensive stand. In the savanna's unforgiving algorithm, this transfer of biomass is now mathematically inevitable. The acoustic distress signals have not dissipated in the void. Driven by the evolutionary imperative of kin selection, the main primate troop converges. This is not altruism. It is the ruthless protection of shared genetic material. Alpha male baboons spearhead the counteroffensive. Armed with razor-sharp canines measuring up to 2 inches, surpassing those of an adult leopard, they deploy a formidable biological arsenal. The baboon troop initiates aggressive mobbing, a coordinated tactical assault designed to overwhelm the hyena's sensory processing. Completely overpowered by the baboon's collective biological arsenal, the hyenas are definitively defeated. The hyenas scramble in a desperate sprint, burning their final metabolic reserves to evade fatal lacerations from the alpha male baboons. The baboon's geometric fortress is aggressively re-established, and the transfer of biomass is definitively denied. The baboons must now purge the toxic levels of cortisol from their neural pathways. To achieve this, they engage in allogrooming, a highly evolved social mechanism that triggers the rapid release of oxytocin and endorphins, chemically restoring homeostasis. This tactile interaction transcends hygiene. It is the structural glue of their primate architecture. By reinforcing these interpersonal bonds, they solidify the exact geometric matrix that just saved their lineage. Their true apex weapon is not their canines, but their synchronized neurobiology. For the defeated hyena pack, there is no psychological mourning, only severe physiological consequence. The aborted pursuit has critically depleted their hepatic glycogen stores. Lactic acid pools in their overexerted muscle tissues, and the sudden crash in adrenaline leaves them mechanically sluggish. They must now navigate the hostile terrain with a heavily compromised energy budget. Antarctica, a continent isolated by the unforgiving circumpolar current, holding 70% of Earth's fresh water within a frozen desert. Here, the cryosphere dictates all biological rhythms. During winter, the sea ice expands to cover an area larger than the continent itself, effectively doubling Earth's reflective surface. This extreme albedo effect plummets temperatures drastically, while the rapid cooling of high-altitude air generates relentless katabatic winds that sculpt the frozen topography. Yet, this freezing and dynamic matrix is far from a dead zone. Nutrient-rich upwellings driven by the ice mechanics fuel a massive hidden marine ecosystem beneath the surface. Piercing the ice canopy reveals a subglacial realm where the physical rules of survival are entirely rewritten. Here, the ocean remains liquid at sub-zero temperatures, stabilized by extreme salinity and crushing hydrostatic pressure. In this twilight zone, the base of the food web operates entirely suspended in the water column. Vast clouds of drifting microorganisms are systematically harvested by highly efficient filter-feeding swarms, instantly converting primary biomass into dense mobile protein. To inhabit this freezing abyss, the residents have evolved biochemical miracles. Many predators circulate antifreeze glycoproteins within their bloodstream, preventing the crystallization of cellular fluids while operating at a radically reduced metabolic pace. This subglacial ocean operates not as a chaotic battleground, but as a synchronized ecological network. There is no wasted motion, ensuring absolute efficiency in a resource-limited habitat. Beneath the static, frozen shell of Antarctica, a finely tuned biological engine quietly sustains the perpetual cycle of life. Vision loses its power in these dark depths. Survival now depends on an extraordinary sensitivity to water movement. Both predators and prey feel the faintest vibrations, reading invisible waves to pinpoint each other in the pitch black. On the ice, the colony acts as a single thermoregulatory unit. Tightly huddling minimizes their surface area, creating a microclimate to resist extreme heat loss. But their high metabolic rates demand constant refueling. Leaping into the freezing ocean to hunt, the penguins transform instantly. Water pressure compresses their feathers, shifting their biomechanics, turning clumsy walkers into streamlined, high-speed marine predators in pursuit of prey. Plunging into the deep triggers an extreme biological response. Their heart rate plummets from 200 to just 20 beats per minute, heavily conserving internal oxygen for a prolonged hunt. Capture is instantaneous. Backward-facing barbs inside their beaks secure the struggling catch. They consume the biomass mid-swim, maintaining a flawless hydrodynamic profile to seamlessly continue the assault. Above the waterline, there is no biological refuge. Relentless katabatic winds strip heat instantly from any exposed tissue, enforcing a brutal thermodynamic rule. In Antarctica, the surface is never a sanctuary. It is only a brief necessity. In the shadows of the ice, a completely different biological machine awaits. The seal utilizes countershading a dark dorsal profile that renders it virtually invisible against the deep abyss. It does not rely solely on sight. Highly innervated vibrissae on its snout detect the exact hydrodynamic wakes left by the swimming penguins, tracking their spatial signatures in the water. Positioned below, it exploits the bird's visual blind spots. Locking onto their trajectory, the predator converts its massive mass into kinetic energy, executing a sudden lethal vertical strike. The pursuit ignites. The seal propels its massive frame forward, overcoming immense water resistance through raw muscular output. In open water, its top speed rivals the penguins, turning the ocean into a high-speed ballistic corridor. But the penguin holds a critical biomechanical advantage, a superior turning radius. Possessing lower mass and inertia, the bird executes hairpin maneuvers. It uses its stiff tail and flippers as hydrodynamic rudders to abruptly alter its vector. The seal's greater mass becomes a physical liability in sharp turns. However, it compensates with sheer acceleration. This relentless chase pushes both animals into anaerobic respiration. Lactic acid floods their muscles as they burn through their finite oxygen reserves. This is a contest defined by fractions of a second. Survival is no longer just about speed, but about outlasting the predator's physiological limits. In this evolutionary arms race, every micro-adjustment determines who survives and who fuels the ecosystem. The high-speed pursuit is abruptly shattered by a tectonic shift in water pressure. Low-frequency infrasound vibrations capable of traveling hundreds of kilometers reverberates through the seal's skeletal structure. Something colossal is ascending from the abyssal zone. The blue whale, the largest biological mass ever to exist on Earth. While its anatomy dictates a strict diet of krill, not seals, its sheer scale turns the ocean into a hazardous vortex. It has arrived to exploit the exact same nutrient-dense swarms that drew the smaller predators here. Executing a massive kinematic lunge, the Leviathan unhinges its jaws. Its ventral pleats expand exponentially, engulfing up to 90 tons of water and biomass in mere seconds. The seal is instantly caught, not targeted as prey, but trapped as collateral damage within this catastrophic hydrostatic vacuum. Battling a hydrodynamic pull equivalent to a violent undertow, the seal must abort its own hunt, pushing its anaerobic threshold to the absolute limit. It uses maximum muscular torque to propel itself out of the engulfment zone, escaping just milliseconds before the dense baleen plates clamp shut. The predator becomes the fugitive. In the hyper-competitive waters of the Southern Ocean, survival is dictated not only by speed and agility, but by navigating the indifferent, overwhelming mechanics of the ocean's true titans. The light fades, and the polar night reclaims the ice. Above, a frozen, absolute silence. But below, the biological pulse never stops. In the deep dark of Antarctica, the brutal ballet of survival dances on.